There's a legally served image somewhere in there that we used to put up when Frranz was on.
Got to turn on the TV if it turns on first and scratches.
Yep. .606 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, Jake producing. We got a busy Wednesday show for you today. Attorney Frranz Borghardt going to be by in about 20 minutes, a little under 20 minutes for Legally Served. Going to be talking a lot about Jussie Smollett, who is going to go to jail for a little bit. That actually came down late last week. Frranz was called upon by Court TV for his expert analysis. Court TV, obviously knowing where to scout to find the right experts from a legal perspective right here on Talk 107.3. We'll have Frranz on. I should probably want to talk about the experience more than the verdict because it's kind of cool. In our 7 o'clock hour, Jenn Racca is going to join me at 7:15. She's running for judge in the 19th JDC. We talked to Brad Myers yesterday. We've already talked to Jordan Faircloth. Jenn will be the third of three candidates on that ballot, and she will join me at 7:15 to talk about it. 7:35, as it stands right now, Congressman Garret Graves is set to join us at 7:35 for D.C. Current. We've got a ton of topics to talk about. Now, I say as it stands right now because there is still an outside chance that we get bumped for the Ukrainian president to address the Congress. If that happens, obviously he's not stepping out of the room to hop on a cell phone. If that happens, I will do my level best to find a direct feed so we can bring you the Ukrainian president addressing the Congress. So it's either going to be Congressman Garret Graves with D.C. Current or a listen-in on Zelensky. President Zelensky talking to Congress. one way or the other. That's where we're going at 7:35. In the 8 o'clock hour, there's a good stack of bills in front of this legislative session that addresses different needs from the insurance business end. Jay Robicheaux is with Coastal Louisiana Insurance. He is going to join me at 8:15 to break those down. And then we'll round out the guest list at 8:40 with the folks from Hope Ministries, because we are less than a week away. Less than a week to go before the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon. So Cheryl and her crew will be by at 8:40 to talk about it. Starting off this morning, I'm not sure which of the two I want to start off with. There's one, you know what? We'll get to daylight saving time another time. I've got to start off with the story from the business report yesterday. Louisiana legislators have named St. George Fire Deputy Chief Administration Dustin Yates and Baton Rouge Attorney Andrew Morrell to the St. George Transition District. While a majority of the voters in the affected areas voted to create the new city of St. George, Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome and Mayor Pro Tem Lamont Cole are challenging the incorporation in court. Quote, "This is an important step in the process to creating the city," said Senator Bodie White in a prepared statement. "It's critical that all involved work together for a smooth transition." Yeah, that's not going to happen. Oh, by the way, Drew Morrell has been on the show a number of times talking about the St. George Incorporation efforts. Drew has been their spokesperson for a good bit. Also, from the Daily Report's story, as chair and vice chair of the corporation petition, Norman Browning and Chris Riles will serve on the board, the legislators say. This dates back to Act 361 from the 2020 regular session. Mayor Broome can also name someone to the board, though it must be someone who is a registered voter within the district. That being said, the mayor's office has also responded, saying it's premature for anyone to be appointed to a transition district because there is no transition district. That is a statement from the mayor's office. The statement says two things. Number one, first, quoting, "First, there is no transition district. The existence of one will be contrary to the language of the legislation brought forth by the organizers." They say the transition district will not be created until the proposed city is incorporated, which cannot happen in the midst of pending litigation. Now, there is a trial date set. There was a hearing, about 2 weeks ago that determined there could be a trial date. There is a trial date set. So the mayor says you can't have a transition district until you are done in court. The second part of the mayor's statement says it's premature because the organizers have yet to present anyone with a specific plan. Okay. It's premature, but you don't have a plan. All right? That's where we're at then. Nonetheless, the folks of St. George are moving forward, which kind of feels like it's the right move simply because once the court makes the ruling, you kind of want to be ready to roll. But the mayor's office has fought this at every step of the way and will continue to do so. We'll get to daylight saving time later on in the show. Right now, though, we got to take a break. When we come back from that break, we're going to talk a little sports. Before we take that break, got to ask you about your lunch plans. I know it's early. It's too early to think about a bacon cheeseburger. Or is it? Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes has 2 locations. Bluebonnet at Highland, Seagan, just north of Industriplex. Both locations, you're going to find the same great ingredients, the same great service. Ring the bell on the way out. Let them know exactly what a good job they did to bring you your lunch today. Get yourself a burger, maybe something from the Wall of Dang, maybe something if you build your own, maybe your own creation. Maybe you can create something that they might want to name. You got a way you like it just right? Well, put it together and let them know. Get you some sweet potato fries dipped in honey on the side, maybe even indulge in a milkshake. Bluebonnet at Highland, Seagan just north of Industriplex. Don't forget to download the Mooyah app. Start earning rewards towards free burgers. There's nothing better than free burgers, and you could be earning them with the Mooyah app. Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. It's too soon to have a plan, but I can't be on board because you don't have a plan. You can ask Bo, but he showed me yesterday it runs exactly the same on the web as it does from the application. I don't know what that means. I used. Okay. The UI. Oh.
User interface as well as downloading stuff.
Yeah, I did it. It was super easy. We walked through all of it yesterday. Hey, morning, Christy.
Previous hailstorms have caused hidden damage to countless Baton Rouge homes. Ryson Roofing spots the damage, makes the claim, and replaces your roof. You pay only your insurance deductible. Never anything more. Call Ryson Roofing today and schedule your free inspection. 330-3513. RysonRoofing.com.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
And over to the shoulder on I-10 eastbound after Dalrymple near Perkins. This is the Perkins camera shot. You can see the flickering lights up ahead. The travel lanes are open, but the shoulder is blocked. I'll show you another angle in just a sec. But right now, what you need to know is that travel starts to slow down between Washington and Perkins right now. So look out for slowdowns as you hop off the bridge. This is what it looks like. So it's not a dead stop, but under the speed limit. So just be extra careful. Let's take you outside and check on the incident. If I step to the side here, you'll notice cones in place and an accident over to the side of the roadway. This is also the view from the City Park Link camera. So once you hop off that bridge toward Perkins, use extra caution.
See an accident? Reported at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
Report is brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of 4 eligible BF Goodrich tires. Visit ShawBillsTire.com to learn more. Hey, this is Ken Coleman from The Ken Coleman Show. You can listen to me weeknights from 11 p.m. to midnight on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk in Baton Rouge.
There it is. .616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Busy night in sports last night from a local perspective. LSU softball was on the diamond over at Tiger Park. Well, they took it to Southeastern last night, posting up a big win. As I wait for my screen to refresh just a little bit, so I can get you a little 11-2. Your final score from out at Tiger Park. Over at the box, it was a little bit closer for baseball. LSU baseball posting up a 7-5 win over Tulane. Tulane actually jumped out to a 2-0 lead in this game, and they kind of traded blows as it went on. 7-5 win courtesy of, well, among other things, Trey Morgan with this RBI single. Jake, the LSU highlights? Oh, okay. We'll skip them. LSU baseball will be back at it. They are at home this weekend hosting Texas A&M. LSU softball is going to be on the road this weekend, and they will be at Texas for a 3-game set, stepping outside of conference play. But nonetheless, Texas is a legit power in softball. So should be a fun weekend. It's going to be a very, very busy weekend of sports. I mean, just a little bit of behind the scenes. Logistically, it's going to be brutal. Because you got baseball going on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You got softball going on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You got men's basketball tipping off Friday evening. You've got women's basketball tipping off Saturday. So you got 4 different LSU sports all in action throughout the weekend this weekend. So going to be busy, busy. One other sports note before we move on for to close out the segment, and that is Andrew Whitworth retired. He announced his retirement the other day, yesterday, I guess. Or was it yesterday, the day before he actually made the announcement? And I didn't realize, you never really realize just what an impact an offensive lineman has until you step back and take a look at it. Andrew Whitworth's career has been darn near 2 decades. He's a Walter Payton Man of the Year award. He's been to the Pro Bowl numerous times. He's been an All-Pro numerous times. Goes out after winning a Super Bowl, but about a year or so before his retirement, had an absolutely ridiculous knee injury that should have ended his career. And, I mean, he was, 37, 38, maybe even 39 years old at the time of the injury. And had just a remarkable, darn near miraculous comeback from that injury to get himself back on the field for the Rams, back in a position to play. And then he comes out there and, is on the field for the Super Bowl, is playing a pivotal role on a Super Bowl champion. And now he gets to go out a champion as well. Andrew Whitworth. A lot of folks think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if it's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because offensive linemen are rarely first ballot Hall of Famers. Nonetheless, though, just what a remarkable career. What an outstanding Tiger. And kudos to Andrew Whitworth. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We are going to check the Fox Business Report. We are going to check traffic. When we come back, Legally Served with Attorney Frranz Borghardt on the back end of the break. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened with the Jussie Smollett verdict last week. Frranz was called upon by Court TV. I'm just guessing that the appearance on Court TV is going to be bigger than Jussie Smollett news. Why? Because we never get to talk about this stuff. Frranz Borghardt, Legally Served, coming your way next. Yeah, sorry about that. I would have sworn up and down in the court of law I emailed you. It's all right. So I've got to figure out how we can get on YouTube and recording at the same time. I don't know if the podcast studio down the hall does it, or if we'd have to wait about 10 minutes and get up to ESPN on the 3rd floor. I'll have an answer for you. First pitch is for 6, so pregame would start at 5:45.
I'm going to see if I can move them as a plan B.
Okay.
And the plan,
Who is your guest this week?
I've got Our Lady of the Lake, McLean's Children's Center, and then the Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
And then I've got, whatchamacallit, it's actually very excited to get these guys on, and I'm drawing a blank on who they are, but essentially it's Startup Grinder, PR. I'm going to see if they can do earlier in the day.
Yeah. Look, anytime between 10 a.m. and
I would be looking at noon.
I'm all yours.
Let me see if I can do noon. Yeah, with 4 different sports going, nobody anticipated softball actually broadcasting. And then LSU hit us up with that. I'm like,
John Deere compact tractor would say. If it's something you want, just go after it and try it. Then there's the Mosers, who may mention for the seat of their John Deere Gator UTV. You can't be all working on play. There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Come be part of the best party in town, the Zurich Classic. Meet up with friends at Petito's Lounge or other specialty drink outlets on the golf course. Or grab a bite from 10 New Orleans restaurants while watching the greatest golfers in the world play
so I need my PowerPoint from Taylor.
Extra careful. Let's take you outside and check on the incident. If I step to the side here, you'll notice cones in place and an accident over to the side of the roadway. This is also the view from the City Park Lake cameras.
And Ken Sterlitz be in that.
Perkins, use extra caution.
Apparently he's in isolation.
Who's this?
Smollett.
Oh.
I mean, as you would normally do a celebrity.
I always thought celebrity was a bit of a stretch for him.
I think it's fair to say he's a celebrity. Whether we agree with the
Well, now, yeah, but in the way that Kato Kalin's a celebrity. Actually, we should go circle back to that because that's kind of funny.
I cherish every moment I have with Kato Kalin.
Yeah, he knows the law. That's why we call on him every week, and that's why Court TV calls on him now. Attorney Frranz Borghardt in for Legally Served. Frranz, how big's the head?
It is. It's like Thanos said. It is inevitable, right?
Oh, man.
I mean,
look,
Court
I'm leaning
TV
into it. You have at it, bro.
Court TV selects the finest attorneys from around the country to do commentary.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll
wasn't
lean
it
into
just a matter of time?
I'll lean in. It's
No,
good. It's good. It's good.
This is actually, I will be completely honest and candid with your guests, and as big as my ego normally is, I will say this. This is something that I had been working on for about 6 months to a year.
Really?
You have to, so you have to submit audio and cuts of your commentary. So as you know, I have a plethora of Mornings with Brian Haldane. I had some Bill and Kevin time, and then I had the big cut was actually the Alton Sterling commentary that I did on WAFB, because it was big in the sense that it was a multiple hour. Clay Young and I actually were the ones doing the commentary on that.
Okay.
So it was a multiple hour, you remember. So you submit all that to Court TV, and eventually the booking agent, that's right, a booking agent, contacts you and says, hey, are you available to come on? They give all the noobs, they don't call them noobs, but I feel like a noob. They give all the new people a certain time slot, Thursdays, 3 to 5 Central.
Right.
So normally that's a good way to ease in because there's not a lot of court action going on 3 to 5 Central on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Except this last Thursday it was the Jussie Smollett sentencing. Smollett.
We're never going to pronounce his name right again. Thanks a lot, Dave Chappelle.
The God's honest truth. Like, I'm sitting there doing commentary on him, and I'm like, I could not remember how to pronounce his name, and I kept hearing in my head, it's not Smollett. It's not Smollett. It's not
Jussie Smollett, right?
Smollett.
Yeah.
So
not Juicy.
So long story made short, I had 2 hours of commentary about Jussie Smollett. Now, it's not 2 hours of me talking. It's a formula, and it's very cool. First and foremost, you just tell me when to stop here. First and foremost,
3.5 minutes.
Yeah. So first and foremost, it's a Skype call.
Yes.
So all the attorneys doing commentary are doing Skype video, and the microphone is your computer device. The actual audio piping into my ear is the telephone. So I have a Bluetooth device in my ear because the video, and as you know in the industry, but the listeners may not know, the video and the audio don't line up. The live stream video and the audio don't line up.
Right.
So
there's a little bit of latency
and
there.
By the way, you're not supposed to look at the computer screen. You're supposed to look at the camera and more specifically the camera light. So it's a little weird. But yeah, 2 hours of talking about Jussie. And what is always nice is, and I've done it a few times on this show, Brian. It's always nice when I make a prediction that is just spot on.
Doesn't that feel good?
It's like I don't know diddly squat about sports, but we have all these sports commentators and they make predictions, and you're like, yeah, and then one of them makes a spot on. You're like,
right.
Hey, that guy was right. that was totally what happened with me. I was like, yeah, he's going to get a little bit of time, not a lot. It'll be enough to sting. You know,
because analysis is easier than prediction because you can extract what actually happened. Prediction, you can only look at what should happen, and then everything leaves the rails from there.
So speaking of analysis, the way they do it is they send me a list of national court topics they want to talk about.
Okay.
So I get 7 different topics, and I have to be prepped on 7 different topics. Now, this last week, it was easy because it became one topic.
Yeah.
Just one. So, yeah, it's going to become a thing, I think. I've been invited to come back on next week.
Ooh.
Well, I mean,
Ooh.
they have scouts, and they see talent, and
Well.
they're just like, it's like, we need to
Same-
draft
same-
pick this guy.
Same time slot?
Yes, same time slot, but essentially it's look, I'm just happy to, I mean, all joking aside, I'm just happy to be on once again a national platform. I mean, I've been on CNN and Fox before for cases I've been on, and I've told you guys before that was more
It's different.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
national
different.
news recording me saying stupid stuff and then playing it on a national platform. Yeah, this is different. So we'll see where it leads. It's fun. I'm trying to stay I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm trying to stay grounded in reality.
No, you're not. No, you're
Yeah,
not.
I am.
No, you're not.
I am.
No, you're
I
not.
am.
No. He's attorney Frranz Borghardt. Okay, we're actually going to break down what happened with Jussie Smollett and his sentence, and where do we go from there, and probably some dive into a few of the other topics that might be on his plate for his next appearance.
Sure.
He is attorney Frranz Borghardt. We do Legally Served every Wednesday right here on Talk 107.3 FM. We are due up for our news, so we'll start with CBS, get the latest on Ukraine and Russia. We'll hit up our local news, traffic, weather, then Legally Served with attorney Frranz Borghardt continues after that. By the way, speaking of the courtroom, Jenn Racca wants to be in the courtroom, running for the 19th JDC seat. She will join us in our next hour, and Congressman Graves is still set to join us at 7:35. Here comes CBS.
So are you normally able to get all the politicians or the candidates, not politicians, candidates?
All the politicians.
Are you able to get
I have all the politicians.
number 1, not number 2? Are you able to normally get them all booked?
Mostly.
Okay.
It's rare that I don't get calls back.
So a lot of people don't realize there's this rule that if you as a media show give an opportunity for a candidate to come on, you have to give a similar opportunity to all other candidates.
Within a certain window, yes.
Yeah, I mean, now you don't have to. You don't
Now,
have to.
I don't have to have them on. I have to give them the opportunity.
Right now, if they don't accommodate the available schedule, then
Right.
that's on them, not you. But like,
You know what's weird about that rule, though? There's nothing in there about time.
well, right.
No, but like if I give one candidate, like Jen's coming on at 7:15. If I were to give every other candidate 9 o'clock at night, I have upheld my obligation.
So Renee Smith just wrote, "Is Patrick looking for his vest?" Oh, Renee.
Oh,
Renee.
you know what? If you're not going to keep yourself grounded, the users on YouTube are going to.
So Renee, you're dead to me. It's cold, man, but it's not so cold.
It's not that. Yeah,
It's
it was
cold in the morning.
mid-50s.
It's mid-50s. I'm always cold because I lost all the weight. No big deal. And so, yeah, I wear a vest.
That was funny. It does. But you need the one that has the detachable sleeves. Yes. Oh, I missed that.
Can I get a members-only jacket?
I would like a members-only jacket. I would rock a members-only jacket. Except,
I can't believe Renee came out guns a-blazing this morning. It's
I mean,
not even 7 o'clock yet.
you know what? You know what? Good for her. Good for her.
I just realized that's the logo that says 6 to 8.
Oh, get rid of it. Yep.
So famous, real or imaginary characters that wore vests.
Oh,
Marty McFly.
Marty McFly.
Marty
End
McFly.
of discussion.
Yeah.
Should I just turn that off then?
No. Who else wore a vest?
Who else wore a vest?
I don't know. Put the question out to.
probably what you just said up there, right?
Crash on I-12 right now on the westbound side. So if you're
131, 2020. That would be before the show.
Baton Rouge, stick with Florida anywhere between Dedham and O'Neill because there's a crash blocking 2 travel lanes just past O'Neill. Right now, a parking lot in the area. See up ahead, kind of blocked by the tree here. I'm going to keep searching for a better camera angle, but you can see right now a lot of activity in 2.
Again, sorry about the sports segment. I didn't see any cuts on there, so I just assumed it wasn't.
And that is
No, I emailed for highlights. I didn't have, like, when I put the cuts on there, there usually are in numbers. But no,
See an accident
Sometimes you put
at
like
WBRZ
something.
traffic.
with highlights. Yeah.
Brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of
Oh,
4
you know what?
eligible
Let's do
BF
this
Goodrich
instead.
tires.
Let's go back
Visit
to
ShawBillsTire.com to learn more.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems. Listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck,
Did you look in Taylor's folder?
charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today.
Every
U.S.
producer out
Tax
there
Shield is
keeps
A+
their
rated with the
most of them
BBB, so
keep
call
their stuff in their own
800-466-9625.
Like all of
US
my
Tax
stuff from
Shield,
AFR, all of Matt Visco's stuff from
800-466-9625.
AFR is in my folder.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use.
Does not have.
With 14
Whenever
languages
he
and lesson
gets
topics
a hold
like
of it,
travel,
or I might just ask him to
business,
send it to me, I'll put it in
relationships,
my
and more,
folder, and then I
you'll
will
learn
never
what
have
matters
to
most to
Yeah.
you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Bringing you the news you can use with Brian Kilmeade and common sense for your dollars and cents with Dave
I do have a
Ramsey.
headshot.
Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
That's not what I want right now.
Look at you.
For your Wednesday,
Troy has a members only jacket.
mostly sunny skies. Overnight lows will be near 50 degrees.
Troy, what size and what color? There, everybody has a price.
Just leave it blank for right now. There's,
Yeah. You know what we need?
Members only jacket.
No, I need to send you for the next half hour the screen grab. Ba-da-bum. I like how you tell me you're on court TV, so what do? I text you 1,000 times in the next 10 minutes. I mean, no, I don't have a screen grab. Never mind.
There was no way of me nicely saying without sounding a little debaggy.
No, I knew it. I remembered it was going on. Just couldn't remember when. 637, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Attorney Frranz Borghardt comes in for Legally Served every Wednesday, as of now. You know, until he gets a better offer.
You know, court TV really doesn't do much between the hours of 6 o'clock in the morning and like 8.
Oh,
9
so I'm
o'clock.
still good.
You're probably safe. for
Okay, that's good to know, Frranz.
now. My commentary rate may go up.
So as soon as you told me you were on, I was like, there's no way I'm not going to bother you the hell out of you and just text you 1,000 times over the next 10 minutes. So, you know what let's do here? Let me send this over to Jake and put that up on the big screen so the folks on YouTube can see. So let's talk about the Jussie Smollett part of this, the actual legal analysis.
So I got to watch, and what doesn't happen here is they had cameras and whatnot in the courtroom.
Right.
We don't do that in Louisiana, and we didn't do it during the Jussie Smollett trial because I think all parties were kind of, well, in particular, the Smollett camp were like, no, we don't want cameras in the courtroom. Which, of course, ironically, they then later challenged the fact that he wasn't given a fair and public trial because of limitations in spacing because of COVID.
That's like saying you.
Slightly disingenuous.
Yeah. That's
which
like saying you can't have a transition district because it's premature, and then we can't sign off because you don't have a transition district.
Saw the way you just circled back there. Great job.
Yeah.
So that was kind of. So this is the big thing, and there's no way of me saying this right. So you have a Chicago case, high profile. This guy has tons of money. I'm expecting to see like epic A-Rod like, or give me a Chicago Cub, Sammy Sosa leveled.
Wow.
I mean that's best
That's
I could
really
do.
dialing it back. Okay.
Yeah. I mean Sammy Sosa style. You know, who's the second baseman for the Cubs?
Ryan Sandberg, not Ryan. Ryan Sandberg.
Sandberg.
That's a callback to the '80s right there.
So I'm looking to see top tier attorneys doing stuff that I'm like impressed with, right?
Yes.
And the entire sentencing was really painful to watch. Zero remorse. Like no remorse. A lot of Judge, I respect you, but which that's kind of like when you hear the phrase with all due respect,
Oh, you know.
comma, everything that precedes is going to be probably lacking in respect.
Right.
So it was really, now I did like, he did get his grandmother to testify. His older playing the grandmother card is actually not bad. I mean, she looked at the judge and said, if you're going to put him in the jail, let me go with him. Which I thought was actually,
Wow.
and she meant it. And it was sincere and meant it. I mean, she may have an early onset dementia. That's neither here nor there. But you know, he gets sentenced. And he screams out in the middle of the courtroom, I'm not, you know, what does he say? I'm not suicidal. If something happens while I'm in there, you know, essentially, I'm not committing suicide.
Right.
High drama.
Right.
Which means
You're also not assaulting
that
yourself
he-
after going to a Subway sandwiches at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Subway?
Sandwiches?
So, which means he obviously learned no lesson as a result of the 150-day sentence. So, long story made short, it was a giant poop show.
Yes.
They filed and the other thing is it's hard when you file pre-sentencing motions that are basically like, Judge, these are all the ways you got it wrong and the jury got it wrong. But by the way, I'm really like, I want you to have mercy on me for sentencing. There was at no point did he say I'm sorry.
Right.
At no point did he say that's beautiful.
See that?
That's just beautiful.
YouTube, you're getting a good look at it right now.
If you're on YouTube, you can actually see the photo of
Have you
me.
gone back to Court TV's website to
They're
grab
sending me the video.
Okay.
They're sending me the video. I mean, look at I had to now that's my home, right? Because I needed a stable internet, and my office is there's a lot of instability at my office right now.
Wow.
So that is actually a picture from a staging area in my home, which actually came out great. See the plants there? It's just beautiful.
Oh, no,
Just beautiful.
fantastic.
There's a shark. I don't know if you can see the shark in the photo.
I see the shark.
There was a shark intentionally, you know, shark, lawyer, shark.
I got it. I got it.
So yeah.
All right. So the sentencing about appropriate, or I mean, because this was roughly what you predicted.
We all knew he was going to get jail time.
Right.
And my prediction was just enough to sting, but not enough to really be significant.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, his problem is he is like the poster child for celebrity entitlement.
But okay, is he a celebrity in a big enough way to get entitlement?
Well, they certainly hammered that during sentencing that he was a quote unquote celebrity, and that he.
Do more people know him from Empire, or more people
They
know
made
him
it
from this
sound
trial?
like that he was Empire. I don't watch Empire, so I can't tell you one way or another, but they said he is the musical foundation of Empire.
Oh,
that he
gosh.
is Empire. No,
sir.
never mind any of the other characters. It is all on Jesse's shoulders.
Jussie. See, it's not even
Smollett.
Jesse. It's Jussie. So no, Empire is all Terrence Howard and Taraji Henson. It's
hard out there for a pen.
Oh.
So anyways, point being 150 days, and then he was on probation, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is, like I said, there was a whole bunch of who's who witnesses. I think even Samuel L. Jackson had a letter that he had written. It was just a parade of how wonderful of
wrote a letter. All right.
I mean, he's literate.
I know, but it's just you never think of Samuel L. Jackson through the written word. You think of Samuel L. Jackson shouting MFers at people, like Samuel L. Jackson is more. Yeah, I'm glad he's dead. I hope he burns in hell. Like that's not
Also, another great
another great Chappelle sketch.
This is how I talk.
Exactly. You don't see that in pen unless it's all like written really huge. He capitalizes everything.
So he had a letter from everybody. And again, the problem is, I said on the air on Court TV, I'm now quoting myself on Court TV.
Have at it.
Can mercy exist without remorse and contrition?
Right.
Can I have a spoonful of mercy without a teaspoon of I'm sorry?
Okay, but you can because it comes from outward, not inward. The remorse has to be inward.
So the flip is, why did he never say he was sorry? Well, he's appealing everything, right? And he's maintaining what? His innocence.
Right.
So that is when I would deploy or employ, as a criminal defense attorney, the aloof remorse. I'm sorry we got this far. I'm sorry that the court's time and resources have been spent on this, and I'm ready to take responsibility. You see what I did there? It's like,
but the ready to take responsibility.
well, he has to be ready to take responsibility. That's what sentencing is all about. Is the serving? I keep using the spoon analogy. It's a serving of justice. It's a serving of responsibility. You got to take it. Now he's in prison, and now they're fighting to get him out because they're afraid for the 150 days. They're afraid for his life. The family's getting like calls, allegedly. He's in lockdown because he is a high profile person. Yeah, I almost said celebrity. He's in lockdown, which may be detrimental for his mental well-being.
I would argue that more people know him from Dave Chappelle's special than know him from Empire. Like that, just he became more famous because of that. He was like mildly like you could watch Empire and not know who he is because if you pull up, let's see, Jussie Smollett on.
Well, he hasn't been on Empire in a while, right?
Well, no, it's been a few years since he's been on for sure. But I mean, outside of Empire, I'm scrolling through and like. I'm looking at anything he might have done that anybody might have heard of, and no, it's just the one show.
Well, hey, there was the performance in Chicago.
Well,
by the way, they
Street
spent
theater.
a lot of time with a legal issue that dealt with the Nigerians and whether the Nigerians were basically incentivized to testify because they weren't charged with a crime.
Okay.
And that actually was a very interesting legal issue because, long story made short, there is a jury instruction in Illinois that if you're incentivized, it might affect your credibility. I'm oversimplifying this. And the judge's ruling was essentially that there was no trial, no charge the Nigerians really could be charged with because they weren't the ones who called the police. Right? If you think about it, it doesn't become a crime until he calls the police and gets law enforcement involved. If he would have said, this happened in Chicago and I'm letting it go because I'm a bigger person and never called the police,
we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here.
Right.
And the Nigerians could certainly not be charged. So it was a very interesting issue. Very interesting issue. I need to get a letter from Samuel L. from one of my sentences.
You have to assume it's written in all caps. It has to be written in all caps.
You know Samuel Jackson texts messages in all caps.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. All right, we had to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about what's next because obviously this is not his last appearance. There's plenty more in the legal world to discuss, and we will discuss it right after this on Talk 107.3.
Have you been tracking the doctor in Ohio who's being prosecuted for like 10 deaths for pain medication for intensive care? Like, oh, yeah.
Oh, is he a new Kevorkian?
Kind of. I'm trying to find his name so you can...
Oh, wow. Dr. William Husel?
Yep. So, again, something that you and I wouldn't necessarily be tracking on a local level.
No, but this is a big story, dude.
Yeah.
So you think this is going to be your next go-around with them?
I think it's going to be as long as I keep showing up, not redundant. And to a certain degree, there's a certain amount of ridiculousness they want. So if you're like, you know, a certain level of me, you know. Oh. That was one I was supposed to discuss. There was one about two brothers who had murdered a teacher. They do mostly criminal justice. I think they're trying to get into the civil.
Why? Civil feels like it would be. I mean, criminal justice is where the viewers are going to be, right? All right, I'm not caught up on. Let's see. Starting looking for a manager and an agent. I'm just funny. See, I can't wear a members only jacket on principle. Because if I wear a members only jacket, it means I killed Tony Soprano.
So Troy goes, in the Will Wade saga, is the fiance of the player that shook down Will to keep quiet likely to be charged with extortion? I hope karma exists.
Okay. We got Your Money Now coming your way in just a second. Hey, this weekend I'll be on hand out at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center for the Louisiana Outdoor Expo. Fisherman, hunter, that sort of thing. This is going to be your jam. You're going to want to be there this weekend at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center.
You know what we should talk about?
What?
Sam DeQuilla is trying to prosecute a GPS monitoring company in the Felicianas for basically not doing their job, and it resulted in a murder.
Yes, please. Would you rather that than this Ohio doctor?
We can talk about whatever you want. It's a short.
Yeah, we only got a minute and a half left till we're back.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. We'll stick with Ohio doctor for now. Well, we've talked about the ineffectiveness of an ankle monitor. If somebody wants to do something bad, they're going to do it bad. There's just a record after the fact of what they did bad because of where they were. Oh. Gross.
Wetting his finger on the sponge.
And she toes the rubber, which means one thing on a baseball field, a completely different thing at a convenience store.
Towing the rubber.
You know, you can't, like, once it's out there, you can't unhear it.
You said it once, and now I actually kind of like this.
Gross.
At least I get some
One segment to go here with attorney Frranz Borghardt. We do Legally Served every Wednesday at this time, 6:25, all the way up until the top of the hour. We're going to shift gears and talk about what might be next on Franz's plate for his next court TV appearance. Which, by the way, you talk about the logistics that went into the actual appearance, how you're going to have audio coming from a different feed than the video. It's a weird bag, to be sure.
So the stress was all the things that could go wrong, just with modern technology.
Right.
I'm waiting for the internet to go out. I'm waiting for the phone call to be dropped.
Right.
You know, and
you're waiting for a Facebook alert to overtake your audio or whatever.
I have a dog in my house.
Yeah.
And so the dog doesn't give two thoughts about the fact that I'm on court. My dog Molly, who's on the furball court,
Right.
does not care that I'm on court TV.
Right.
If you want to see something or a creature or a force not give two poops about who I am as a human being, Molly.
Well,
Yeah. Anyways,
so yeah, no, but if we've seen this all since the beginning of the pandemic, it's taken over since the beginning of the pandemic, where someone will be on national television and like their kid will run in the room and the diaper falls off mid-run.
so to some degree, that I think they are generally aware that kind of stuff happens.
To some degree, I'd say they want it.
Well,
because that's the viral moment. I mean,
the lawyer that uses the cat photo instead, or the cat thing instead
absolutely.
of the yeah. So
think of that. All the legal analysis you could provide. If you were a cat, you'd be all over the internet right now.
You know, they said shirt and tie.
Yeah.
And a jacket.
Yeah.
And I thought, how funny. Like, if I was only going for one episode, I'm wearing nice suit.
Very
there.
reserved, navy
very
blue.
reserved. Yeah, it was conservative. But I thought, what if I just put on a tuxedo T-shirt and a little jacket, like one and done, right? One and done, like I'm on the bridge with a canister of gasoline and a match, and I'm like, I'm gonna show you court TV. That would, by the way, that would have been a defining viral,
Absolutely, it would have.
No, so on this, and by the way, the questions are kind of they're easy to answer questions. Like well, Frranz, what do you think about when your client gets on the stand and perjures himself? Well, Susan, it's never good when your client gets on the stand and commits perjury. That's an extreme example, but those are the commentary questions are like some of it is like that softball-y, and then some of them are like, okay, well, what do you think? What do you think about the way he's approaching his sentencing, or in the case of the doctor. In the doctor case out of Ohio, who is basically a Kevorkian-like case.
Yeah, which
where
we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah, so then it becomes an issue of, there's a lot of chaos in that case. And what's the role of chaos in a criminal case? Well, the answer might be, Brian, chaos is the criminal defense attorney's friend.
Right.
Chaos, it's chaos is what disrupts things, and I'm trying to go to the Batman Dark Knight quote.
I'm watching you go down the path. I'm hoping you get there.
So, anyways, long story made short, it was a fun experience, man. If I never do it again, I'd be disappointed. But I also can say I can check that box and say I've done it. So,
yeah,
I'm just a caveman.
You get the. That's an old school SNL reference. That's a Phil Hartman reference.
Well, once I said Ryan Sandberg, I thought.
Yeah, we were basically in the 80s from that point on. And yeah, you get those hardball questions like, what does his body language tell you?
Well, so those are the kind of things of, I'm waiting to have a question about like the client that looks like he quote unquote did it, like physically sitting there because he looks quote unquote the part, which is a horrible something we don't want to say out loud, but that jurors absolutely, your client's sitting next to you and has tattoos all over their face and has like 2 horn tattoos coming out of their forehead and maybe a teardrop. Maybe a teardrop.
Maybe a teardrop,
yeah. And you're like, don't judge my client based on the way he looks.
Right.
Don't breathe air.
Exactly. All right, so what's next could very well be this doctor, this William Husel. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I've only seen it written so far. The trial of an Ohio doctor accused of multiple hospital deaths began yesterday with the defendant turning down a possible last-minute plea deal and jurors hearing 2 sides of what led to the deaths of 14 patients under the doctor's care. We could very well have the next Kevorkian on our hands.
So
here.
this case checks all the boxes, right? You have a doctor there's a lot of testimony. This guy's a great guy and that he really helped people, right?
Yeah.
And then there's testimony that, man, he was given way too much of this prescribed medicine.
Fentanyl, no less.
Yeah.
This is hospital fentanyl, not like off-the-street Chinese fentanyl.
Not like little lowercase f fentanyl.
Right.
This is like juicy. Right. So long story made short, this high-profile case checks all the boxes, right?
Right.
You have doctors coming in and testifying that, this guy was a great doctor and he did great work, but maybe he shouldn't like given all the stuff he was given. And then, we took action after we discovered it. Well, did you take action after you discovered it? Now, this makes for a great civil suit.
Okay.
But we're talking about the criminal case.
Right.
Which also is why it's a great case, because they're charging him with basically, here we would charge this guy with negligent homicide. Unless you wanted to argue that he intentionally gave these people the pills with the intent to kill them.
Right.
Okay, then it would be second-degree murder.
Well, the dosages that they're looking at makes this a talk topic, to be sure.
Right.
And then you're going to have the side piece of this where you're going to have half the audience say, oh, he killed grandma, and the other half says, Blue was old. That's what old people do.
It was mercy.
Right.
Mercy.
Right.
He was helping these people.
Kevorkian 2.0.
Right. What happened to Kevorkian?
I don't remember.
Right, he went to jail.
Right.
For quite some time.
Well, okay.
Whether or not he died in jail or not is I'll have to look at that. I'll have to Google that. But my point is, your point, that was a national topic or national case that they're tracking, and that was a great case to do. Maybe I'll get to do commentary on that one, unless I'm talking more Smollett.
Well, I don't think you'll be talking for Smollett because he's done. I don't think that appeal is going to garner any kind of attention whatsoever.
So I think he has to. I think with Jussie, it's about being able to say it was injustice, and I didn't get a fair shake. And the only way you have to play this all the way out, right? You have
But
to.
the flip side of this is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Nobody cares about any level of injustice because he did this to himself.
A sandwich? So yeah,
Find out what Kanye West was doing.
yeah, Nigerians. So yeah,
All right, he's attorney Frranz Borghardt, joins us every week for Legally Served. He's also got the Go Rouge show, which we're trying to find a home for this week.
It's
but
okay.
Who you got on?
I've got Startup Grinder BR, and then I've got the folks from Our Lady of the Lake McLean Center Children Advocacy. So it's gonna be fun.
Excellent. That's coming your way Friday. Right now, we got the CBS World News Roundup.
Off to make the donuts.
Have a great time. Thank you. Patty G kind of cornered the market on vests. Like he'll sport a vest in 85-degree weather. Clint says just a tip. I'll get Sonny on the free Jussie t-shirt ASAP. Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to just go through this entire show so I can figure out these references.
Oh yeah, it's all. I'm way behind on the comments. Topics wheel. I like that. Yeah. So no. Well, the plan was to stick with the court TV appearance the whole way through, but I don't like to over talk a topic. I like to bag it and move on.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we were wanted to find one more thing just to cover. But I like a topics wheel.
Could import or if you wanted to do like if you wanted to use the video or like the screen in the background, there's a website where you can make a wheel and put different things on it and then spin the wheel and then it comes up. So we can,
That would be good.
Oh, did you look into Flowerfest at all? Or did I not give you enough information?
I didn't. Oh no, I forgot all about it. When is it?
It's happening in a couple weeks, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'll remember after the show and I'll
Okay.
get you in touch with her because it's really good. It's a place that people would like to know about. The only reason I knew about it was because I was doing a story for it, and a lot of people went, and it was freaking cool. I did my story, and I could have just left, but I stayed an extra like hour and a half, and just appreciating the festivities. It was fun.
Okay.
People would love to know about that. Alright, I'm gonna post all the stuff that's happening today as it's happening, and then afterwards I'm just gonna get all of yesterday's stuff out. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. It'll look kind of jacked up because because everything posts chronologically. Don't worry about it. Yeah, just do it that way.
This isn't gonna happen again.
I know.
What should we do about this screen up there?
I don't know. You can go ahead and kill it. Kill it for now. Actually, a weather radar wouldn't be the worst thing. Hang on. There's a.
Or a traffic camera. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Let's get a traffic camera on the bridge.
She's in like so many things.
Aw.
Do you recognize her by name?
Yeah, Gilmore Girls.
Lauren Graham or Graham?
Ram.
Mostly sunny skies. Overnight lows will be near 50 degrees. For St. Patrick's Day Thursday, temperatures will be a bit warmer in the upper 70s. A few southern areas will hit 80 degrees. Then Thursday night clouds will in and another round of overnight
Okay,
rain.
so Baton Rouge matches at
Or
34,
isolated showers.
Was it 34? Okay.
and then the Ferns.
I'll hit Baton Rouge mattress on the way in.
Could pack a lunch with a heavy downpour, and there is a heightened risk for hail development. Similar to
is,
today, everything will clear up in the
Do you have an extra show sheet from yesterday?
weekend will be sunny and dry.
No.
Is everything tossed already? Okay, shit. No worries.
Seven oh six Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Got a busy hour for you this hour. Jenn Racca, Metro Councilwoman Jenn Racca is running for William Morvant's seat. What was William Morvant's seat in the 19th JDC. Early voting is open right now. Jenn joins us in our next segment to talk about it. Also this hour, and I'm checking my text right now because want to make sure this is still good to go. Congressman Garret Graves is slated to join us at 7:35. This is going to be one of those ones where we are very much in the moment from a news perspective and may have to shift on the fly. Congressman Graves is set to join us. However, Ukrainian President Zelensky is set to talk to Congress today, and there is a chance that these things will overlap. If the President Zelensky's remarks get moved up, then we'll get bumped. Now, that being said, if it plays out that way, we will do our level best to find a raw feed because I don't want to miss out on what President Zelensky has to say to Congress, and we would just instead carry that and then make up Congressman Graves on another day. Got top stories and trending coming your way in just a minute. Before we get you to top stories and trending, want to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. So you saw where the Senate passed an adoption of keeping daylight saving time forever. So that hour of sleep you lost over the weekend might be the last hour of sleep you ever lose. That being said, well, from a calendar perspective, that being said, you want to make sure the hours of sleep you do get are the best possible hours of sleep that you can get. Which is why every day I send you to 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Robicheaux if you're in the southeastern portion of the parish. That's where you're going to find the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. That's where you're going to find the very best deals. Mitch will not be outdealt when it comes to sending you home with a new mattress. That is where you will find top-notch prices, and that is where you will find free delivery if you mention you heard about it right here on Talk 107.3 FM. If you mention you heard about it right here, you will get free delivery and a free pillow at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Look, they've got a huge showroom at 4065 Florida Boulevard. Lay down on a mattress. Lay down on all the mattresses. Make sure you're finding the one. Go the full Goldilocks route. Find the one that's just right for you. Too hard, too soft, too much pillow top. Find the one that's just right for you at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Robicheaux. All right, time for top stories and trending. Let's hit it. Jake.
Now, top stories and trending. 5, 4, 3, 2, I let one go. On Talk 107.3 FM, the most trusted name in news. Brought to you by Complete Collision Center, with locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com. I want to know absolutely everything that's happening.
The Perkins Road Overpass area is a thriving community that attracts hundreds of patrons with food, music, and good times each week. But business owners say the small stretch of the community has been plagued for far too long with unsafe conditions and bad parking, leading them to form a solution amongst themselves. Quote, there's a huge gap in connectivity with the overpass. There's a garden district and all of the area on the other side, and then all of this thriving business over here, and the overpass is just not a very safe way to get from side to side, says Jenny Peters from Varsity Sports. Hey, love Jenny over at Varsity. The businesses in this area hired Carbo Landscaping to draw up a plan to restore the now gray industrial pathway from Raymond Avenue to Christian Street with a more vibrant look and upgraded safety measures. Key features of the $2.2 million project will include a pedestrian plaza, ADA ramps, improved lighting, and more. Project organizers presented their ideas to city officials Tuesday at a press conference, laying out everything they've done so far. Now they're looking to the city parish for funding of that $2.2 million. Oh, by the way, this is all going to be affected by the widening of the interstate in the very near future as well. A legislative committee established to investigate Ronald Green's death in police custody and the subsequent cover-up at state police questioned two of the agency's former leaders on Tuesday. Among those testifying at the state capitol Tuesday were former state police superintendents Michael Edmondson and Kevin Reeves, who was in charge of the agency in 2019 when Ronald Green died in police custody, resigned in 2020 amid several controversies at state police. The bipartisan committee questioned Reeves at length about the investigation. Reeves maintained there were no efforts to cover up Green's death, but claimed he was unfamiliar with several aspects of the internal investigation at state police. Members of the committee grilled Reeves for hours yesterday, asking him how much he knew about the internal investigation into Green's death and apparent efforts to cover up what had happened. State police have completed an outside investigation into a deadly deputy-involved shooting earlier this year without recommending any charges. The case is now in front of District Attorney Hiller Moore. The shooting involved 25-year-old DeJuan Willis, who was shot by an East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's deputy in January. That deputy has returned to work. Willis's family has questioned the case. Concerned investigators, one of their questions is that concerned investigators overlooked the actions of officers from two different departments on scene the night Willis was shot. Willis was shot as Baton Rouge police and the deputy were at an apartment complex on George O'Neill looking for Willis's twin brother, Keon. Keon Willis was wanted in connection with a kidnapping case where he was accused of sexually assaulting a woman after taking her from Baton Rouge to Alexandria. At the time of the incident, authorities said Dion Williams answered a knock at the door and brandished a firearm at responding law enforcement. It's been noted that law enforcement did not identify themselves when they knocked. Right now, there are more questions than answers in this case. Despite the heinous nature of the crimes he is accused of, 21-year-old Brennan Murphy appeared calm and well-mannered at his first court hearing. Murphy is accused of shooting and killing his pregnant girlfriend, Kaylin Johnson, 2-year-old son, Murphy is accused of shooting and killing his pregnant girlfriend, Kaylin Johnson, and dumping her body along Burbank Drive before throwing her 2-year-old son, Caden, off a 30-foot bridge into a dry riverbed in Central. According to police, the baby was alive and cried once he hit the ground. This is a first-degree murder case that has the potential to carry the death penalty. Not that we've made any decisions at all at this point, District Attorney Hiller Moore has said. Moore says the autopsies will determine more how to proceed with this case. A suspected armed robber was arrested Monday after he allegedly ambushed a pregnant woman at her home off Highland Road as she was leaving for work. ABR Sheriff's Office said the attack happened in October off Pecan Shadows Drive. Investigators said the victim was getting into her vehicle when a man entered her garage and put a gun to her head. The woman ran back inside her home as the gunman was rummaging through her purse. When she checked the garage a few minutes later, her vehicle was gone. Investigators eventually identified the robber as 20-year-old Joseph Green, who was also suspected of committing several burglaries in the same area. Green was booked into jail Monday on a charge of armed robbery. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending. Houses along Hundred Oaks Road are already decorated in green ahead of the Wearing of the Green parade on Saturday. Across the river, Earl Como, the owner of Comago Floats in Plaquemine, is already prepped for the festivities and expects a big turnout for the parade's return after COVID-19 cancellations. Quote, based on what I see in every city, even in our own town, this is probably going to be the biggest turnout ever. He's also excited that business has been going well after the pandemic took away the parade season. As a side note, last Sunday, I marched in the Metairie St. Patrick's Parade, and I can tell you, absolute perfection. Everyone back out. It was huge. The crowds were ginormous. Pat Shingleton does a fantastic job with the Wearing of the Green parade. I would argue the best parade in Baton Rouge. And, yes, we are all ready for it. 7:15, Talk 107.3 FM. Quick break. When we come back, Jenn Racca joins me next. changed up my workout a little bit, and I decided that I had a left knee injury, and I've been kind of rehabbing that slowly, and I'm finally to the point where I can like lift again. And I decided to do something different rather than looking for heavy weight on squats, because I do squats like every day. I did it on a Tabata timer, which is like interval training. It's such a different, like, rather than doing like super heavy for like 8 reps or whatever, I was going 30 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 6 sets. And the last one, I barely got 4 reps out of the last 30 seconds, but I didn't realize, like, I lift all the time. Like, I'm not used to, like, sore is after you take 3 weeks off and you go back to it. Like, when I lift, oh, golly.
So, fun fact, about 3 years ago before the little one came along, my PR for back squats, 285 pounds. I was trying to hit
What?
I was trying to hit the 300 mark, could never get there, and then found out I had a little one coming. So I haven't been back at it, but yeah, I was pretty excited. That was like one of my major milestones.
I mean, that's crazy.
That's what we would do for fun. My
Yes.
husband and I, instead of going out or whatever, we would go and work out. And we had a bunch of friends at the gym. So
Yes.
it was a lot of fun.
So, yeah, I enjoy it. My wife goes to work out. She does cardio she goes and meets a friend at the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We've got,
Go super early too.
that's,
Or really late.
I'm here by 4:30. So, and everybody says you're supposed to work out before your day starts. And I'm like, I can't. That would have me working out at 2.
It does, but let me tell you, one thing I didn't like about it was it made you hangry all day, like super hungry. When you go,
Okay.
when you work out at night, then you just go to bed and you're fine.
Right, right.
But early in the morning, you're like, oh, I gotta eat. By 10 o'clock, you're like, where's lunch? You know. So I heard you talking about the path, the pedestrian path behind Building 5.
Yeah.
I was at that conference yesterday, press conference. So we've been working on that, trying to get it done.
Isn't the interstate construction going to affect all of this, though?
Potentially.
I mean, not directly. Like, the pathway, the green space will still be there. But, 718, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, early voting is open right now, and if you are voting in the race for the 19th JDC, let me introduce you to, or reintroduce you to, Metro Councilwoman Jenn Racca wants to move over from the Metro Council to hopefully take, what was William Morvant's seat. We've had Jordan Faircloth on. It's available on demand at talk1073.com. Yesterday we had Brad Myers on, also available at will be available at talk1073.com shortly. We had some internet problems yesterday. Right now, Jenn Racca joins us. Jenn, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. A little tired, but great. Feeling the energy and ready to get off to March 26th and see how that goes.
So, moving from the Metro Council to potentially the 19th JDC, I've got to start with why.
So it's always been a dream of mine, and we can go all the way back to when I was born, and that story's fun. So I'd be more than happy to tell it. But I've always wanted to be a judge, and my career path has taken me there. Now, did I ever expect for Judge Morvant to retire early? Absolutely not.
Right.
And I wanted to. I ran for council. I was appointed to the council, and then I ran for the seat. Because I wanted to give back to our city. I wanted to try to fix some things. People are commonly aware that I worked for city parish. So I had a unique understanding of everything that went on. The RFP process, I had actually participated in it as a citizen, as a person trying to get a contract with city parish prior to me being appointed, and it was absolutely frustrating. So from that perspective, I could see that things needed to be changed. I could see that the process that was designed to be fair wasn't absolutely the most fair process. Plus, speaking to some of the council members that sat in those seats, all 12 of them, they weren't always easily accessible to the public. So with those things, I wanted to be appointed. I wanted to make changes. Then I was elected, and we have set things in motion. We've done infrastructure projects. We have a lot of things going on. But then comes the news alert that Judge Morvant was retiring early, which sort of changed my plan for things. And as you know, these judicial seats come up very rarely. So for me, it was a now or never situation. So I'm taking the opportunity for now.
What do you bring to the table in this race?
So I bring, and I know we all bring a set of different unique skills, but mine are fairly unique, and I'm going to say relevant experience. My experience is in the heart of 19th JDC. My experience is in criminal courtrooms in 19th JDC. My experience is recent. So I have criminal trial experience. I have civil experience, as indicated on the commercials that you've seen recently. Not all of that is accurate, but I have tons of civil experience. And so most people are like, well, you just got out of law school. But here's where the important piece comes in, and I've said it in many places, but some of the opponents and some of the other teams are not really grasping this. I graduated from high school, back to my story of always wanting to be a lawyer. I came from very meek, very poor circumstances, and my parents would tell me when I told them I'm going to be a lawyer whenever I grow up, they would tell me that's for rich people.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and they were right. Unless you work very, very hard, it is hard to go to law school, pay your rent, and do those sort of things. But so what I did was I went to McNeese State University. I immediately started working in a law firm, and I've worked in law firms since I graduated from high school, and I haven't stopped. There have been breaks in between with me having a baby. My oldest son, who's 18 now, he went to law school with me. I tell people,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I tell people he's already graduated from law school once, so from 3 to 6. But he was
Nice.
there partnering with me the entire time. So I have 20 years, with some breaks in between of legal experience. Not all as a lawyer, but with legal experience.
When it comes to this particular post, and I asked this of Jordan and I asked it of Brad yesterday, I have Chief Murphy Paul on the show every month.
Right.
One of his biggest gripes right now in trying to fight crime in Baton Rouge is he's constantly arresting the same people.
Yeah.
What can be done from the bench that can affect that?
So that takes the experience, the relevant experience that I'm talking about. So there are things that absolutely can be done. And I've heard from our police officers that they're playing catch and release.
Yeah,
So,
basically, yeah.
Yes. So, and it's frustrating to them because they're already understaffed by almost 100 police officers.
Right.
So they are putting all of their resources into catching people, and then when they get to the last line of defense, the judges sitting on the bench, it's not exactly happening the way that it should. Now, the pandemic absolutely had a role to play in that, but currently, going forward, let's talk about today. So there are ways that we can keep from that occurring. Those are, let's say, for example, you're a first-time offender, whether it's misdemeanor or felony. I can keep you from having a career of crime, a lifetime of crime, issues with having to find a job by just simply sentencing you to a deferred adjudicated article under 893 or 894, felony or misdemeanor. What that means is you complete conditions, and then after you've completed those conditions, which are rehabilitory in nature, then that is, you don't have that on your record anymore. You can have that felony expunged. So if you made a mistake in your first time offender, then that can be erased, and you're not a criminal for the rest of your life. So that's very important to know that that's out there.
Okay.
The other thing that you can do is you can do alternative sentencing, and you can do split sentencing. There are regulations through the crimes that you have a mandatory or a maximum sentence. So let's say, for example, negligent homicide. Okay, and so that means that you've killed someone. Let's say you were texting on your phone. So that's your element of negligence there. And you swerved and you hit somebody and they died. Okay, so a maximum for negligent homicide that you could receive is 5 years. Which is sad because you took someone's life. However, let's say that that you're very sorry. The victim's family doesn't want to make you stay in jail for 5 years. There's split sentences that you can do. There's probation that you can have. Being on probation, you can have a monitor placed on your ankle where your probation officer is monitoring you. If you do not want to be in jail and you have committed a nonviolent crime, instead of having a very expensive bond, you can shift it, put ankle monitoring, do drug testing, require that someone have a job. Those things have to be done. The other piece that I see that is very problematic to me is some judges will say, can you afford an attorney? Say no.
Okay, no, yeah.
Okay, well, I will appoint the public defender's office. Well, other judges that have experience and that know they know how the system works, they'll say, can you afford a public defender? Or can you afford a private attorney?
Right.
No, you can't. So how much do you make? So then they do a determination of how much you possibly could afford, and then they'll say, well, as a condition of your sentence or a condition of what's going on here today, I require you to pay a $500 fee to the public defender's office. So exactly.
Well, the public defender's office is always underfunded.
Absolutely. But there are cases that are running through the 19th JDC where it's either required that they pay and then they do not, or there's no requirement at all. So if we're talking about people that need to be trying cases, and I heard our district attorney speak about how there were maybe 10 murder trials last year with the murder rate that we have.
Yeah.
So that there's an issue there, and so some additional unintended consequences. We have all these grand ideas, and on the council, I've talked about this multiple times. We can make changes, but what are the unintended consequences of our change?
Yeah.
Right? So unintended consequences. The lapel cameras, they have worked out really well for public and police officer safety. However, the delay in getting all of that footage has delayed trials and has delayed some other court proceedings because of that. So we just have to work through that. We have to work together. We have to be open to communication. The judges, when you have a judges meeting, we have to sit, we have to discuss those things. We have to be candid about what's working in our courtrooms and what's not working. And having that collaboration and sharing ideas is how we move the city forward. Sorry, that was a lot.
No. That's exactly what I was asking for. I mean, it was granular and specific, to be sure. You mentioned the pandemic, and you said we're kind of past it, but from a court perspective, we're not. There's a huge backlog. How would you approach clearing out the backlog without rushing justice?
So, of course, we can't rush justice, but you have to remember there are some people that suffer from a certain socioeconomic status that can't afford attorneys, can't afford their bond, so they're sitting in jail. And as a public defender, oftentimes I would see people sitting in jail just waiting for their time to run out so they could plead guilty, get out, and go back to life.
Right.
So there's several things that need to be put in play. But moving forward, I think continuing with the online motions and having those things that are accessible to attorneys to be able to move things forward quickly, I think technology is great. We've discovered in the pandemic, even some of the older folks have discovered it. We're using it, we're utilizing it, and I think that's what we have to do to keep things moving forward. But most importantly, be efficient. Have a judge that says, you know what, I'll be here at 8 a.m. So there are attorneys, as a private attorney, one of my major pain points was I had multiple courtrooms and multiple parishes to be in one day. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's how people make their living.
Right.
So if I had a judge that was supposed to be there at 8:30 in the morning but didn't get on the bench till 10 a.m., that ruined my entire day. That my plan, my list, my paralegal were calling other judges saying, hey, Miss Racca's going to be late, and it made me look bad. Then at the end of the day, whenever I had new clients coming in from 2 until 5, that pushed all of them back, ruined my credibility with people I hadn't even met yet that were depending on me to be there on one of their most stressful days in their life. So having a consistent schedule, being there on time, and making sure that we're working hard. And that's one thing. This is not a seat that you can sit and expect to work a few hours a day. You have to put the time in. You have to put the hours in.
Got about a minute and a half left with Jenn Racca, who's running for a seat in the 19th JDC. Early voting is open right now. I ask everybody about the campaign process, especially when you're running for judge, because it's a different kind of beast. So since you've run for Metro Council and now running for judge, how's it different to run for this post versus the other?
Oh, my goodness. So the judicial canons prohibit us from doing a lot of things. So let's first say, for example, there's a team out there saying I'm anti a particular thing. As a judicial candidate, I cannot say I'm pro or anti or even defend my stance because that would violate the judicial canons.
Right.
So as a council person, I can tell you exactly what I feel, exactly how I would vote and how I'd move on things. But to remain ethical, I cannot take a stance. So it's been interesting to me how misinformation can be spread, but I can't even take a stance to defend myself. And that's been an interesting tactic. So that part is purely frustrating. However, the part that I have absolutely enjoyed is just meeting people. Just being out meeting people.
She is Jenn Racca, running for the 19th JDC. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'm going to have one more for her when we get into the news break here. But we're pretty much out of time. So, Jenn, thank you for hopping on. It was a fast segment, but thank you for hopping on board today.
Absolutely.
Stick around for just a minute on YouTube. We got a bonus question for Jenn. And on air, we're going to CBS News, then our own local news, traffic, weather. Congressman Garret Graves slated to join us next for DC Current. We do this every Wednesday, and we'll do this next on Talk 107.3 FM. How are your constituents responding?
Pretty well.
Okay.
Well. And so one thing that I wish I could have added that I forgot to add, I've been endorsed by fire and police. So
Yeah.
despite the fact that you see some of the other information going out there, they're the ones that trust me to be on the criminal bench.
Right.
And that's really great because I've been on opposite sides of the courtroom with police officers. But that just tells you,
Right. No. And yeah.
the level of trust there.
Yeah, you did. You missed an opportunity, Jen.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was like rapid questions.
The basis of my question about your constituents, though, is have you gotten any feel that there's going to be like, no, we like you as our Metro Council person. Don't leave us.
So I have had that. I have had people tell me that. My fellow council members, they love, we work really well together. We have good camaraderie. We are able to get things moving along. So a majority of my council members are like, please, we love you. Please don't go, but we understand and wish you the best. And I've been endorsed by many of them.
Yeah.
So it's that push and pull, but whatever happens, it'll work out. Yeah. I promised them I'd visit.
Well, no, you can be going away because we never have judges on the show. Judges don't do interviews.
Right.
So,
and I have some friends that have been on the bench recently, and comparatively to what they've done before, they say it's very lonely, which is interesting. Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
I always appreciate it. Always appreciate it.
Sorry, I feel like I was talking 90 to nothing.
No, all good. No.
Thank you.
That was, let me walk you out real quick.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
So,
in a committee on the oath and just Green's mother, Borghardt, wives as the testimony of Coleman, broke down in tears when New Orleans representative Jason Hughes called Green's death a murder.
In my view,
Federal and state prosecutors have yet to charge the jurors involved in Green's arrest. Governor John Bell Edwards is backing legislation that would create a nonpartisan commission to help legislators in future races with concessions.
having personally witnessed the redistricting process twice now,
So I thought that's where
No. If it's done on Disney Plus, I'm not seeing it. I've seen Turning Red 15 times in the last week.
Rams offensive tackle former LSU star Andrew Whitworth
When I heard the review of Turning Red, someone said it's basically like
and LSU baseball beat Tulane last night 7-5. Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
my wife told me that, and I'm like, dude, they said it's team, but I'm half an hour into it. I'm like, oh, God. It's a red panda for crying out loud. It's a cute movie, though. Good music. The story's fun. I don't like that the girl wants her mother so much, but that's because I'm a parent. So, but no. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. No, thank you.
traffic for,
Matherns.
well, yeah, but,
Oh no, I'll do Matherns if Congressman in there. Traffic what?
you want to
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna find it. Give me the remote. The remote.
Report is brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of 4 eligible BF Goodrich tires. Visit ShawBillsTire.com to learn more.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answers at MurphyLawFirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you. Make the right decision. Don't leave money on the table. Visit MurphyLawFirm.com or call me, Attorney Pate Murphy, at 928-8800. Main office, Baton Rouge.
Hey, assistant. So what is the DIMCO scholarship program? DIMCO, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative, awards one-year scholarships for each of 2 consecutive semesters to member students. This happens at the annual membership meeting each May. Students must attend or plan to attend a
Where are my
Louisiana
apps?
college or university. Wow, that's great. Can I enter? For eligibility requirements, visit demco.org. When is the deadline? Entries are due by May 9th.
GatorWorks believes that your website should
home
be
button?
the perfect full-time salesperson, one that always looks sharp, never says the wrong thing, and
There we
is
go.
always available. If your website isn't creating more leads for your business,
show. Do I need to grab any cuts?
No.
70s. A few southern areas will hit 80 degrees. Then Thursday night,
He'll be here.
and another round of overnight rain will move in. More isolated showers and storms will be in and out between midnight and 10 a.m. on Friday. These storms could pack a punch with a heavy downpour, and there is a heightened risk for hail development. Similar to Tuesday, everything will clear up in the afternoon, and the rest of the weekend will be sunny and dry.
Seven 738 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Waiting on Congressman Graves to hop on the hotline real quick. We're hoping to still get this done. There's a lot of moving parts at the Capitol right now, as it's quite possible that the Ukrainian president will be addressing Congress in short order. So, if that doesn't happen, or if we don't get the, which I know he's ringing in right now. Hey, while we're waiting on the congressman, while we're getting him lined up, let me remind you about the folks over at Frranz. They're on Nicholson, right across the street from Tiger Stadium. They are downtown on 3rd Street. Frranz is your headquarters this Lenten season. Coming up Friday, they will have boiled crawfish. Yes, Friday they will have boiled crawfish. Last Friday they had boiled shrimp, which was phenomenal. They'll be right back at it Friday with boiled crawfish. Download the Frranz app. Get your grocery shopping done before you even get to the grocery store. Pull in the parking lot. They bring it right out to you. It is just that simple. Frranz is downtown on 3rd and, of course, on Nicholson right across the street from Tiger Stadium. All right, joining us now, Congressman Garret Graves. Congressman, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Brian. Doing great. How about you?
Doing all right. Glad to make this happen this morning. I know there's a lot of stuff going on at the Capitol today, not the least of which is President Zelensky is supposed to address y'all. Let's start there. Let's start with Russia and Ukraine. What's the latest from our perspective? What's the latest from the House's perspective?
Well, House perspective, first of all, we passed legislation recently banning Russian oil. Look, the reality is we never should have increased our dependence or really been dependent upon them at all. The fact is that under the last administration, we saw a near tripling of dependence upon Russian oil, crude oil coming into the United States. It never should have happened. And so now all we did was empower Putin, give him more leverage over the United States. So we did pass a bill that banned Russian oil, but look, there's so much more that needs to be done. We've got to continue working to provide better equipment to the Ukrainian military. We've got to continue tightening the noose on Putin in regard to economic sanctions. And we've got to make sure that the adjacent countries have all the resources they need to be protected.
How much of the things that still need to be done are getting done, even if it is slow moving as it might be? Are we undoing a lot of the, as you've called, unforced errors of the past?
Yeah. I think that I think that we are making some progress. We are making progress in regard to undoing some of the errors, but there's so much more to be done. There's so much more that needs to be done right now. We've got to make sure that we're truly cutting off his supply chain and make sure that the Ukrainians have the military resources that they need. It's going to end up taking us years, Brian, in order to backfill the energy supply that's needed in the United States. What the Biden administration did by banning oil, by banning the Keystone Pipeline, banning new leases in the United States, all of those things caused incredible delays and cost on citizens of the United States we're paying right now through electricity bills and filling our cars at the pump.
Yeah, it's and overall inflation, because when we have to fill up at the pump, so does everybody else. And when everybody else has to fill up at the pump, the goods and services that they deliver and drive to, those costs go up too. I mean, it's nothing's in a silo with this, and we're feeling the repercussions right now.
Everything requires energy. These are unforced errors, and as you said, making up for mistakes of the past is absolutely critical. Unfortunately, they put us in a situation where there's not an overnight solution. But, I'll remind you, we have 38 billion barrels of oil in the United States that we could be drilling. We have trillions of cubic feet of natural gas we could be drilling, and we could just cut off that Russian supply or backfill it, including to our allies in Europe. But it's going to take efforts to permit liquefied natural gas terminals. It's going to take efforts to permit these drilling activities. And right now, unfortunately, we're seeing the administration move in the other direction, and it's hurting Louisiana disproportionately from the as compared to the other states. We have a lot of those resources right here at home.
Congressman Garret Graves is our guest. When you were on last week, you were hot, man. A $1.5 trillion spending package handed to you at about 1:30 in the morning. None of it added resources for those who are still suffering from the hurricanes of the last 2 years, while $14 billion was going to Ukraine. In the week that's transpired since then, have you been able to get a little bit more clarity about whether or not there will be more aid on the way, and whether or not, because you would put up a number of amendments, all of which I want to say all of them were blocked in order to get us help. What has transpired in the week since then in getting your district and your state a little more help?
Well, you're gonna love the circular thinking here. So what's happened is, as we've had more discussions and said, why are you blocking our amendments? Why aren't you providing more aid? They said, oh, well, look, we provided, or y'all provided funds for disaster aid back in September. I said, yes, we did. And they said, well, that money hasn't been expended yet. And I said, yes, well, the sole reason it hasn't been expended is because your administration has not allocated the funds. That's the only reason. So you effectively are the cause or for what's blocking the previously appropriated money. I mean, so it's a do loop we're in right now. They're saying, oh, well, no, there's already money out there. But none of it has been given to the victims yet, none. And so that's the big problem that we're facing right now, is getting the dollars in the hands of the people that need it, not having government bureaucrats continue to tie people up in red tape, re-victimizing Hurricane Ida victims and the 2020 hurricane victims by delaying funding and then compounding it by saying, oh, we're not giving you more money because we haven't given the previous out. Now, compare that, Brian, to the fact that they've already, I think, allocated $200 million to folks in Ukraine for a bill that was just signed into law.
So, no less hot this week, are you?
No. It just look. You and I talked about this last week. I have a very soft heart for the folks in Ukraine. I hate what Putin's doing in regard to him challenging democracy, challenging human rights and freedom. But the people in our country should not be treated as a lower priority. They shouldn't be treated any differently. If we can get money out the door in days for citizens of other countries, and we can't do it in 6 months for our own citizens.
Yeah, it's infuriating, and this sounds very, very similar to the conversation we had about the 9,000 unused leases last week. It sounds like in this regard, it's the same as that one. You're allowed to pay your cover charge to get in the bar, but you can't get up to the bar to actually order a drink.
That's exactly right, and unfortunately, we have not seen a single action out of the Congress or out of the administration to change that energy trajectory in terms of producing more of our own American energy and weaning ourselves off of the dependence on some of these countries. And look, you've seen the administration saying, here's how we're going to backfill. They've sent delegations to Venezuela. They've sent delegations to Iran, by the way, to negotiate with the Russians as intermediaries with Iran. I mean, this is crazy. Go send people down to Grand Isle. Go send them down to Fouchon. Go send them down to Cameron. I mean, what are you doing? This is crazy.
Are there other venues to get done what you would have liked to get done with any of these amendments? Because as I'm running through them, the list of amendments you put on there, a number of them are to shut down stuff coming in from Russia, but I'm seeing just as many that would have provided millions upon millions of dollars to continue to recover from hurricanes. And, oh, by the way, the clock keeps ticking on the next hurricane season.
Yeah, so actually we may have a window later this week. They're supposed to be bringing up another COVID assistance package. They were trying to add some COVID dollars to the $1.6 trillion bill last week, and that ended up not being successfully negotiated. So they're now talking about bringing a COVID appropriations bill up this week, which is, of course, considered emergency disaster spending. So we are looking at trying to hitch a ride on that bill if we can.
Congressman Garret Graves is our guest. We do D.C. Current at this time every single week. Congressman Graves, your office did have, Monday, some good news come out, and that is Baker High getting an additional $1.3 million for flood recovery. I read this press release, and I'm equal parts happy for Baker High to get some money, but I can't help but overlook from a flood that happened 6 years ago.
2016, yeah. Look, Brian, you're right, and it's incredibly frustrating to have these kinds of delays, but I'll also say that that this is one of the things that kind of keeps you going. So what happened is that Baker High School, after 2016 flood, started negotiating with FEMA. A number of their expenses from the disaster were shut down or deemed inappropriate or ineligible to be reimbursed by FEMA. And so we engaged FEMA back in early 2020 after the high school went through a number of denials, and we started working with them, working with FEMA. We set up a meeting with the FEMA administrator and officials from Baker High School, and ultimately we're able to get them to reconsider about $1.4 million in claims that had previously been denied, and they agreed to approve those. Now, the reason the announcement was $1.3 million is because the FEMA covers 90% of the cost, so they had to back out the 10%. But it is a good news story. We're continuing to work with the community in Baker to help pull together the funds for them to build a new high school, which I think they badly need.
They absolutely badly need. Now, couldn't help but notice in that same press release, there is some hurricane relief headed to Gonzales for debris removal and to the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. Is there a way to get more funds through this type of manner?
Well, so this one shows that you actually can sometimes move a little bit quicker. Those two announcements, Brian, were related to Hurricane Ida, and so those were more timely. They were dollars that were awarded for Gonzales picking up a lot of the hurricane debris from Hurricane Ida, and then some of the expenses of the state Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness that they incurred as a result of Hurricane Ida as well. So, look, this shows you that we can move quickly. In some cases, those are expenses that were incurred within the last probably 4 to 5 months, and they're already, getting approvals out the door. Even though it doesn't seem that quick, it's a lot faster than, as you indicated, 6 years later. And this is certainly the type of response time that I think our citizens deserve as well, because they're the ones that don't have the full weight of the government back there helping them out, and some of them are still living in tents and other awful locations from Hurricane Ida.
Got Congressman Garret Graves for another minute or so. We're probably going to run long here, and I know that full well before I even ask this last question. Want to take it back to Ukraine real quick. Y'all are expected to hear from President Zelensky today, correct?
Yes, actually headed over to the meeting right now.
So can you crystal ball a little bit about where our country is headed with this situation? Sanctions, cutting them off monetarily, is that the extent of what we're going to see here, or are you starting to see inklings of this might be going in another direction?
Well, look, I think that ultimately this is Putin's decision. If he continues doing what he's doing now, he is directly and intentionally attacking civilian targets. You have seen where some NATO members are beginning to step out and say that we do need to enforce a no-fly zone. There have been, sort of cracks in the position about sending him additional fighter jets. And so, look, I think that this really depends upon what Putin's next move is. But Brian, you talked about mistakes of the past earlier. I think what's most important is that we keep in mind, look, Putin did not invade Ukraine during Trump administration. He did it during Obama and during Biden. And I think that is not a coincidence. We have got to go back and look at some of the strategies that were employed then and try to prevent this from ever happening again. We've got to make sure that we bolster our NATO allies, and we've got to make sure that the Ukraine military has every resource they need in order to continue putting up a good fight. I mean, Putin's talking about bringing in fighters from Syria and other places that are trained in urban warfare because he wants to go in and effectively occupy these major cities.
And one can only worry that it escalates from there. Meanwhile, and we're going to have to talk at some point. We're just straight about a time for today, but we're going to have to talk at some point about how much of our attention is absorbed with this versus the rest of the business of our nation. And in the meanwhile, I know you got to get to that meeting, and we're already over as far as the clock is concerned. Congressman Garret Graves, I thank you for the time every single week, sir.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good week.
You too. You too. Look, I don't want to sound cold-hearted, but there is still a nation to run, right? Yes, Ukraine is going to suck a lot of the oxygen out of the room, but it can't suck all of the oxygen out of the room. So, no, I appreciate Congressman Garret Graves' time, and yeah, unforced errors, making up for unforced errors. Normally that involves a late inning rally. Take a quick break, come back, we get the outside in next. They're on at 8:40. Okay. What the shit is this? I don't need a friggin'
Grab your breakfast to go, Denham Springs. If you have somewhere to be, going from Denham toward Baton Rouge, I-12, a parking lot, and a lot of folks are taking Florida instead. And so it's going to take you longer no matter what route you take because there's an accident between O'Neill and Millerville that's been sitting there for over an hour. Multiple lanes have been blocked. No one was hurt, but this is a bad crash. There's a large truck, looks like possibly tour buses involved, and then issues on both sides of the roadway. So travelers, looks like at this point more cars are able to pass around this, but I've seen everything. I've seen a full closure, one lane blocked, two lanes blocked. Looks like now travelers are possibly able to pass through.
See an accident? Reported at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of 4 eligible BF Goodrich tires. Visit ShawBillsTire.com.
Tell me you can't find the WBRZ app. Unreal. $7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks to Congressman Garret Graves for hopping on board. I mean, like literally walking into a meeting with the Ukrainian president, or a meeting where he was going to hear from the Ukrainian president. Hopefully we'll be able to unpack all of that at a later time. At some point, okay, so I don't have time to get into it right now, but I really didn't like, so I've got to ask when he's on, what's the chance of escalation? Yes, we see the U.S. committed from a monetary standpoint. Yes, we see the U.S. committed from sanctions standpoint, trying to cut them off at the knees monetarily however we can. But you heard the congressman right there. It's really Putin's decision. Well, if the decision is in the hands of the madman, you can expect the worst possible outcome. What's the chances that the U.S. gets further involved? That's up to Putin. No! I don't want that to be up to Putin. That makes it infinitely worse. All right, we got CBS News coming your way in about three and a half minutes from right now. Enough time for us to hit the outside in.
It's time to step outside of East Baton Rouge and get inside our surrounding parishes. It's about time for me to be hitting the old dusty trail. Really explore space this time. I mean, really. Yeah. Explore the space. The Outside In, presented by BRPT Lake, with 6 locations and extended hours to fit your needs. BRPT Lake has got you covered. Schedule online now at brptlake.com.
nowhere if you're on I-12 coming in from Livingston Parish. I'm looking at the camera right now. Ouch. It is a brutal ride on I-12. If you at all can take a different route to get into town this morning, please do so. Starting off, we started off with Livingston. Let's move over to Terrebonne Parish. A 15-year-old Vanderbilt Catholic high school student was arrested 5 days after a video of a racially motivated incident was shared across social media, this according to sheriff's deputies. The Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office said the video appeared to be recorded at the high school during regular school hours. According to Channel 4 in New Orleans, the video shows a white student walking up behind a black student in a crowded lunchroom, throwing cotton balls at him and hitting him with a belt. The high school freshman was arrested, charged with simple battery and a hate crime. Over to Ascension Parish. For the first time, parish officials shared the latest proposed development changes with residents before the 9-month moratorium expires. Last June, council members adopted a moratorium blocking any new developments from being built to address poor drainage issues and flooding. After about a dozen people came out Monday night in the first of 3 public information sessions to learn more about changes happening in the parish, at that meeting, Ascension Parish leaders provided a synopsis of new proposed changes coming from the moratorium. Changes included updates on fencing, drainage, and street requirements for new as well as current residents. Back to Livingston Parish. Back to the roads in Livingston Parish. A portion of Highway 441 in Haldane is going to be under construction starting this week. The project is not expected to wrap up until September. They'll be beginning tomorrow. The work will span... No. They're starting today. Excuse me. The work will span Highway 441 north from Highway 190 to Highway 442. Officials are urging people to prepare ahead of time for road closures and intermittent delays. Closing out in West Feliciana Parish, where the council agreed March 14th to call 3 public hearings for a proposed council redistricting plan and new voting precincts, also selected a new registrar of voters. The council is going to hold those public hearings on a redistricting plan and new voting precincts that were drawn by demographer Mike Hefner to bring the parish into compliance with state and federal laws that were triggered by population changes in the 2020 census. Those hearings are scheduled for April 11th, May 9th, and June 13th. That's the Outside In. Here's CBS News. I'm way behind on comments. Debbie, if you're still in there, Brian Domain in the parade handing movie prop $100. Handing someone $100. I don't know what that means. Bradley McWillie, I'm sorry I did not see this post while the congressman was on. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have been hitting him with anything new. you guys literally walking into the meeting. So... Yeah. I was supposed to go use the bathroom during the news.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Boucher.
Grab your breakfast to go, Denham Springs, if you have somewhere to be going from Denham toward Baton Rouge, I-12, a parking lot, and a lot of folks are taking Florida instead. So it's going to take you longer no matter what route you take because there's an accident between O'Neill and Millerville that's been sitting there for over an hour. Multiple lanes have been blocked. No one was hurt, but this is a bad crash. There's a large truck, like possibly 4 buses involved, and then issues on both sides of the roadway. So travelers, looks like at this point 4 cars are able to pass around this, but I've seen everything. I've seen a full closure, 1 lane blocked, 2 lanes blocked. Looks like now travelers are possibly able to pass through.
See an accident? Reported at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of 4 eligible BF Goodrich tires. Visit ShawBillsTire.com to learn more.
For your Wednesday, temperatures will climb into the low 70s with mostly sunny skies. Overnight lows will
No.
be 50 degrees. For St.
Okay.
Patrick's Day Thursday, temperatures will be a bit warmer in the upper 70s. A few southern areas will hit 80 degrees. Then Thursday night, clouds build in and another round of overnight rain will move in. More isolated showers and storms will be in and out between midnight and 10 a.m. on Friday. These storms could pack a punch with a heavy downpour, and there is a heightened risk for hail development. Similar to Tuesday, everything will clear up in the afternoon, and the rest of the weekend will be sunny and dry.
806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. If you are stuck on 12 westbound, man, my sympathies this morning. Getting a look at the cameras in the during the news break right there. It is rough sledding, if at all possible, to get off of the interstate and take a different way in. Please do so. If you have not yet gotten on the interstate, don't do it! Got a busy hour for you this hour. In our next segment, we'll be talking with Jay Robicheaux. Jay Robicheaux is with Coastal Louisiana Insurance. The legislative session is underway. Started doing this last legislative session. There's a stack of bills that affect insurance companies and will affect our insurance policies. Jay has dug into those. We will break them down in our next segment. Also this hour, the folks from Hope Ministries are slated to join us at 8:40. Going to have Cheryl, possibly Janet on, or Janet and possibly Cheryl on. I hope. Pardon the pun. That's coming up at 8:40. The Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon is slated for less than a week from now. So we're going to dive in and talk about kind of the last-minute overview of what it's going to look like, who should be attending, how many spots are still left available, that sort of thing. I'm going to get you to this day in history in just a moment. Before we get you to this day in history, though, I want to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. 768-9898 is the phone number. You said that fast. Yeah, I'll do it again. 768-9898. Why do you need to know the phone number for the collision center before you even get in an accident? Because when you get in an accident, things happen fast, y'all. The clock is ticking, and you're in control. You get to decide. You choose where your vehicle goes to be serviced. This isn't up to your insurance company. They're going to tell you it is. They can make suggestions, friendly suggestions, and that's fine. But when the rubber meets the road, another pun, please, pardon. When the rubber meets the road, this is your call, and they still have to pay. They could warn you, they could threaten you, whatever. No, your call. Who chooses to repair your vehicle? And Complete Collision Center is certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers. They have the iCar Gold Class certification. Want to know what that's all about? Visit CompleteCollision.com. Visit CompleteCollision.com. You can get more information about the iCar Gold Class certification there. Do not let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. All right. Every day, we start off the third hour by going back in time. Jake handles that right now. It's called This Day in History.
Yes, it is time for This Day in History. We're kicking things off in 1830. The New York Stock Exchange, it was their slowest day ever. Only 31 shares, were traded.
Really?
31.
That's a very slow day.
Quite. Even for 1830 standards. 1869, Hiram R. Revels makes first official speech by an African American in the Senate. In 1882, the U.S. Senate ratifies the Geneva Convention of 1864, legitimizing the International Red Cross and the American Red Cross.
Okay.
1900, AL meets in Chicago. Ban Johnson announces AL League will be Chicago White Stockings, Washington Senators, Milwaukee Brewers, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Blues, Boston Americans, Philadelphia Athletics, and Baltimore Orioles.
Very nice. Wait, did I not hear New York Yankees?
That's the AL.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't in there.
Curious.
Quite. 1994, American figure skater Tanya Harding pleads guilty to felony attack on former Olympic teammate Nancy Kerrigan.
Why?
Oh, gosh. Come on, man. That's all the events I got. What am I missing?
I feel like we had this day in history a month ago. 1996, Mike Tyson knocks out TKO's Frank Bruno in the third round to gain the heavyweight title, or regain his heavyweight title.
I agree with you on that. I feel
I
like we
felt like
did
that already
talk
happened.
about
I
that
thought
already.
so, yeah.
Maybe it happened twice, and we just don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a glitch in the Matrix.
That's what happens when you don't talk about Bruno.
We do not talk about Bruno. That's all the events. Let's get to the birthdays. Alexandra Daddario turns 36. Lauren Graham is 55.
Ugh, Gilmore Girls.
Yeah. James Madison, former U.S. president, born on this day in 1751. Joel Embiid is 28 years old. Blake Griffin turns 33. Flava Flav turns 63.
Flava Flav.
Alan Tudyk turns 51.
Who?
Alan Tudyk? He's an actor. He's been in a lot of various Disney, Pixar. He was K2SO in Star Wars Rogue One.
Okay.
You'd recognize the work he's been in for sure. Jerome Flynn.
ALAN?
ALANTUDYK. He turns 50.
Oh, yeah, I recognize that guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jerome Flynn, you may know him as Bronn from Game of Thrones. He turns 59. And two Mavericks players. It's their birthday today. Tim Hardaway Jr. turns 30, and Reggie Bullock is 31. Happy birthday to him. What birthdays am I missing?
You had Lauren Graham and Flava Flav. You have Rodney Peete.
I did not.
Yeah, former Lions quarterback Rodney Peete.
There you go.
Born on this day in 1966. Did you have Ozzie Newsome, Hall of Fame Browns tight end?
I did not.
Yeah, his birthday was today. Did you have Vlad Guerrero Jr.?
I don't think I did.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. born on this day in 1999. And one LSU Tiger.
Oh, no.
Did you have Brian Wilson?
Oh, no.
Yeah, Brian Wilson born on this day in 1982. Former Giants closer.
Happy
the
birthday.
beard. The
Happy
beard
birthday
on
to
Brian
all
Wilson.
those mentioned. One death to talk about, Frank Sinatra Jr. passed on this day in 2016. Let's get to the holidays. It is National Vaccination Day. It is No Selfies Day.
Okay.
Don't you be taking selfies today, Brian.
Okay.
And finally, it is National Panda Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
a
Like
nice-
regular panda or red panda?
Just a regular panda.
All right.
Red Panda Day is probably in a couple months. But that is This day in history.
All right, we're due up for a break. When we come back from that break, we're going to talk a little insurance and the legislative session. Jay Robicheaux joins us next. Let me go let him in the building. I am.
Did you see Jim's text? Someone broke into his truck last night.
Yeah, I'm reading it now.
That's a block away.
That's why we have an alarm.
We need cameras.
It's Jim again. Says he called Certified Alarms and they're getting 2 HD cameras for free.
Free? He must be related to someone at Certified.
Nope, says we can get them free too.
To get your 2 free HD cameras, call 928-STOP. That's 928-7867 or go to certifiedalarms.com.
It's time to get certified with Certified Alarms.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robicheaux, Patient Plus Urgent Care, and I'm excited to announce the opening of our newest location, Patient Plus Urgent on Oglala Boulevard, near Walmart. We're here 7 days a week, 9 to 9. Patient Plus Urgent Care.
No, I'm debating whether or not I want to go. Who's our speaker? Karen Zito.
I like Karen. I haven't seen her in years.
Talk about the rising cost of construction.
Yeah, because she's with
Home Builders Association, yeah.
Yeah, because she was with Chamber forever.
Yes. Or Visit Baton Rouge.
She's done a lot of stuff in that
Yeah.
sort of arena. I think Visit Baton Rouge was years ago. Or maybe that was in between.
Well, she was at Visit Baton Rouge the same time I was working in hotels, so that's where I first knew her from.
Gotcha, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's just a couple of things I can hit on.
Kill the mics for a second.
Their goal is to ensure a remarkable experience for their guests that is always remembered. To view our menu, visit Rufino'sRestaurant.com. Rufino's, where Louisiana comes to celebrate life.
Brock is hiring. Grow your career at South Louisiana's leading orthopedic medical facility. Brock is privately owned and growing fast. Join the winning team at Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic as they continue to grow into 2022. Online, it's prortho.com/careers.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
Look out for a slowdown up and over across the Mississippi River Bridge on the eastbound side, leaving you with 18 minutes from Lobdell to College. Westbound I-10 slowdown starts to split and they ease up at Perkins 11 from the split to LA 1. I-12 has had a rough go this morning with a crash at Millerville, a crash that lasted over an hour. It's been clear now for over an hour, but the traffic has not recovered yet. So we've got slow traffic, especially between Walker and Airline Highway. On Juban, as you're exiting, there's a crash in the exit ramp too. So a lot of activity going on now, and still elevated drive times leading down big time.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of 4 eligible BF Goodrich tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Do I need to put this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
816 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So the legislative session is underway. Very, very early in the legislative session. Kicked off at noon on Monday. Yesterday was the first full day. We try to break things down within the legislative session as granularly as we can. And, that breaks down by industry by industry. I want to talk insurance today. I want to welcome back to the show Jay Robicheaux from Coastal Louisiana Insurance. Jay, welcome back, sir. How are you, man?
I'm great, Brian. Thanks for having me. Look, insurance, it's one of those things. Is there anything less exciting than talking about the minutia of bills? Yes, talking about insurance bills.
Well, you know what, though? You say that until we have to look at our premiums. You say that until we're pressed to tap into our bank accounts more and more when premiums double in some areas. And look, we're in the heart of it, man. We're in Hurricane Alley. So it just, it can seem boring on the surface, but unless you dig in, it can end up costing you more.
Absolutely, Brian. And one of the things I want to point out is right now, one of the big issues we're facing is if you can get coverage at all.
Yes.
We are in the middle of what I would say is a minor crisis of having carriers available to write affordable insurance in the state of Louisiana. There's a lot of people that are going about addressing that problem in different ways. There's a lot of people that are very aggravated by the situation we're in. And what I'm hoping to do today is just kind of give us a little backstory of how we ended up here
Okay.
and some of the things we should be aware of going forward.
Okay, well, let's start with how we ended up here then, because I mean, the bills that are going to come in front of the legislature, we'll dive into a couple of them before we're done with the segment today, but the bills that are going to be in front of the legislature this session are there for a reason. Big reason. Last year's hurricane season and the hurricane season before that. And I know we're going to have a focus more on homeowners than the other stuff, although the other stuff does have to come up too. But how did we get where we are?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian, and I will point out real quickly that there are some automotive bills that are in legislation this year. Not to mention, we had a very automotive-focused session last year. We were supposed to save money on premiums on auto, but that's going to take a while to come down the pipeline, number one. And number two, I want to start with this idea that we've got to start with a couple presuppositions. Number one, insurance companies exist to make money. If companies can't make money in our state, they won't do business here.
Right.
Also, and I have a lot of friends in the legislature, so let me be careful how I say this, but politicians' existence relies on getting reelected.
Yeah.
Of course, they want to please the voters, but this is a chance sometimes to throw red meat to the constituent in hopes of them saying, yay, you know, my politician is going to stand up for me, without maybe knowing some of the unintended consequences of some of the bad legislation that could happen.
This is where, and Jim Donnellan has run into this problem before, where it's ready, fire, aim from the state capitol, and he's left to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. And so one of the things to keep in mind is if insurance companies exist to make a profit, hurricanes greatly diminish their ability to make a profit, number one. Number two, a little bit of the backstory is low interest rates. And you may say, what does that have to do with insurance? Well, insurance companies make profit as much from using the capital that they keep in reserves and earning interest on that as they do from collecting premiums. When interest rates are low, insurance companies are starting out by making less money. That's something we have to understand. The other thing is that they lose money every time they have to pay a claim, but that loss isn't totally their own.
They lose money every time they have to make a claim, and that is the cost of doing business. Is it just a matter of they have to make those claims more frequently in Louisiana than elsewhere?
That's a big part of it, Brian. Another thing to consider is that most insurance companies don't absorb all of the risk of all of their claims in a state like Louisiana. They pay another insurance company premiums similar to the way that their clients pay them premiums. And these companies essentially backstop smaller companies and say, if you have a catastrophic loss, let's say your company has $10 million of capital and you have a $50 million loss, we'll pay the rest of that. However, you're going to pay us a healthy premium every year that you don't have those losses, number one. And number two, when we go through hurricane seasons as significant as the last two we had back-to-back, those premiums that the carriers pay escalate greatly as well. So it makes it difficult for them to do business and make a profit in Louisiana in that perspective as well.
Reinsurance, insuring the insurer is basically where that's at.
Exactly. If you want to know how Warren Buffett has made his money, a large chunk of those billions comes from the reinsurance business.
All right, so that's part of what got us to where we are. What's the rest of what got us to where we are?
So that gives us an idea of the competitive landscape pressure facing carriers in Louisiana. That doesn't talk at all about the boondoggle that was the claims process after these last series of storms. That came from a combination of factors. And so the couple that I'll mention real quick that really exacerbated that was the pressure put on the workforce and the fact that we just didn't have enough claims adjusters to work the claims from the tremendous losses we had back to back. The other thing comes from the fact that construction costs are escalating greatly right now. So assessing what it will actually cost to repair a property is extremely difficult in a period like this because costs may be $1,000 today and they literally may be $15,000 or $2,000 a week from now, especially as demand for construction materials and labor rises so quickly.
Okay, let's stick with this one for just a minute because this is one that I was digging through the bills because this inflation has been a top concern for me because it affects literally everything we do. And when it comes to rebuilding a house, when it comes to repairing a house after a storm, from an insurer standpoint, do they look at more of what the they have to look at what the home value is going to be afterwards as well, right? And you're not going to get your bang for your buck. You're not going to see any ROI because of all the increased costs to fix it right now. Does that hinder an insurer's offer in a claim?
Brian, yes and no. The purpose of insurance is to indemnify a client, which is to make sure that the client is no worse off than they were before, but not necessarily any better off as well. It's to make sure that the person is made whole. And that being the case, that can be very difficult to do in an environment like this. So just to kind of give you an idea of some of the bills, because I want to mention this one, is that Tanner McGee had proposed a 60-day time period from between when a first proof of loss is provided and a claim is made and an inspection is done to where an insurance company settles that claim. There's some real advantage to that, but it's also very unrealistic to assume with all of these variables that that's something that can get done in 60 days. Because let's say hypothetically that the insurance company can pay the claim in 60 days. We have people who are still waiting for roofs, still waiting for work to be done in their yards 6 months later.
So, and keep in mind, Tanner's from Houma. So he's in the thick of it. There might be a little bit of reactionary to this as well because he's had to wait it out. We've had him on numerous times on this show to talk about the level of frustration of getting FEMA trailers down there, of getting blue roofs, getting blue tarps up on roofs before the next rain hits and you ruin your the interior of your house even more. So I would guess something like that would be the beginning of a negotiating point. You start at 60 and probably come out at somewhere around, I don't know what would be a more reasonable number. I can't imagine any more than, 4 months?
Well, Brian, that's a great question because there's another piece of legislation that's proposed that we have no more than 3 claims adjusters working on any particular claim. I think that that's a bit untenable in that oftentimes when we have a storm like this, you have an adjuster that's a hired gun. And by hired gun, I mean companies will pay people to come from all over the place that are unaffiliated with either the homeowner or the company to come look at the claim. Then you'll have somebody working at the home office making sense and running the numbers. Then you'll have somebody at the home office that says, okay, now that we've got an idea, we want to send one of our people out into the field to see what that looks like. So right there, you've got 3, perhaps 4 people involved in the claim. When you consider the labor force turnover and the way that things have gone over the last last few years for sure, we're relying more on technology and more on segmentation and automation to help make these processes. So that's another thing that might be unrealistic, but you brought up a great point, which is right now we're so early in the beginning of session that these are starting points from which I think a lot of legislation will actually be made. The sausage making process is just in the grinding meat stage.
Yeah. With this the 3 adjusters, hasn't technology helped with this? I mean, are we almost to the point where we could skip the hired gun because of cell phone video, cell phone pictures? I mean, you can get down to brass tacks and know what's what virtually.
Absolutely. And Brian, let me take this one opportunity to talk about my role as an independent insurance agent.
Yes.
I think this is important. As an agent, I don't work for a company. I represent my clients to companies to help them acquire policies. So one of the things that's important to remember is I don't have any loyalty to the companies, but I do have to understand their position because if a company can't make money in Louisiana, they're not going to do business here. If we have fewer companies doing business in our state, costs will rise. That's basic economics. Now, that being said, I am also a consumer. I'm in the middle of a lawsuit with my insurance carrier, who will not be named on this particular podcast. But there are bad actors in the insurance space. The issue is going to be to make sure that we have a process that's tenable to weed out the bad actors and weed them out, not just allow them to continue to operate with laws that they'll flout anyway.
And that's Jim Donnellan's cross to bear literally every day he's out there, is that you want to, and we had a story about this, I want to say it was week before last, where he's got to recruit. He's got to recruit, but at the same time, though, you can't just recruit everybody. It's if people are getting stiffed, then they got to go. but every time they do go, our costs go up there as well. Hey, we got about 3.5 minutes left with Jay Robicheaux from Coastal Louisiana Insurance, talking about some of the insurance issues that are going to be coming up in front of the state legislature this year. Can we dial back to a couple sessions ago, because you wanted to talk about car insurance as well? Tort reform made it all the way through. That was very, very hotly contested. It was also at the same time as the beginning of the pandemic, so we haven't seen the repercussions that we were promised within there. All that being said, we understand the nature of a global pandemic. Where are we at with car insurance with this particular session? Are we going to see any more major movements that can help our premiums?
So there are some bills before the legislature, Brian, and let me use this opportunity to give a shout out to Jamie Steele with Tatman and Associates. Besides being one of the dedicated lobbyists that we have representing our industry and really delving deeply into the legislation, she's also a personal friend who kind of gave me a few talking points on auto, because it is one of those things that even as an agent has sort of fallen on the back burner of what we're hearing about from our consumers. But some of the bills that are before session, as Representative Robbie Carter filed a bill to set some rate restrictions for insurance company. He wants to mandate a discount if dash cams are used in people's car. So that's once again an example of, hey, if we can use technology to better assess rates, let's give people the benefit financially of taking advantage of technology.
I like that a lot. Well, that lends back to my point about the hired gun adjuster as well. It's kind of on that same note. What else is up there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. One of the things that we as an industry are somewhat opposed to is prohibiting the use of credit scoring in automobile premiums. Now, we've heard a lot about inequity in the financial services industry and the way that sometimes people can be discriminated against, and that's not what I'm here to talk to you about today. But there has been a strong correlation between people's ability to take care of their finances and respect their money and their ability to be responsible as a driver. This has been proven by study over decades, Brian. And so what doing away with this ability to rate based on a financial responsibility score would do is increase premiums on people who tend to be better drivers and tend to be a little bit more responsible. This isn't me saying this. This is decades of studies.
Okay, but there's a lot of debate to be had there, because the number of people who would walk in, pay for their first month just to get their card, and then the insurance company never hears from them again, I guess the insurance could be kind of viewed as a loan through that lens.
You know, that's an interesting way to look at it, Brian. To be candid, I've never thought of it that way, but I have seen many consumers who will go, they will pay for their first month's premium, and then the insurance carrier is required to give them a notice when their policy isn't paid, and then to extend coverage for a certain amount of time after the policy is even terminated. So the insurance company may essentially end up covering somebody for 3 months that's paid 1 month's premium. That affects every consumer on a premium and cost basis.
All right, so of the stack of bills, and we only got to a few of them here, we didn't give them out by number. The last one was HB 116, the Robbie Carter one. But of those bills, we're going to see a lot of evolution over the course of the next 90 days. Can we get you in about halfway through session as things have made their way through the committee and the deliberative debate process, as the sausage is made, as it were?
Absolutely, and I ask everybody to pay attention to what's going on in the legislature. That's the most important thing you can do. Remember that insurance companies, politicians, attorneys, lobbyists all have a vested interest in this, but understanding where they're essential to this process of sausage making is important.
No, it absolutely is, and somewhere in the middle is the constituency, and we tend to kind of get lost in the wash. He's Jay Robicheaux from Coastal Louisiana Insurance. Always appreciate the time.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great one.
You do the same. All right, well, we're going to take a break here, check our local news, traffic, and weather. When we come back from that break, let's talk with the folks from Hope Ministries. Cheryl Lott, Janet Simmons will be in studio. We are talking about the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon. Are you having trouble maintaining your workforce? They got an answer. Next.
Well, that's great that you have Janet after this. She's have you had her on your show before?
Yeah, I've been doing commercials for their upcoming luncheon. Fred Keller from Cascade Engineering. The way it's written in my talking points, bringing retention rates from 34% to 97%, getting people off of welfare while raising profits. It's really a cool story. So the luncheon's coming up on March 22nd.
Well, I could have thrown in a little blurb at Maison. We've actually hired a few of their people who've gone through their program. I'm blanking on the name of it right now.
Hope Ministries?
Yeah, they have a program though that essentially teaches very basic financial and workplace responsibility to people that are at risk, so to speak. It's a pretty neat deal now. We've had our success rates have varied between different people, but you got to keep in mind the ones we're hiring are $10 an hour cooks.
Right.
So even when you try and teach them, financial
Let me walk you out there and let them in.
Yeah, there's.
Be right back, YouTube.
Thanks a bunch.
That's cool, man. You said that's at Maison Days again?
Yeah, yeah.
And I say that lovingly. All right, let's get y'all good to go.
Wait, that's not. That's my card insurance. Okay. Well, okay. All right, well, this is not what I thought it was.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good.
Cheryl, CHERYL, LOTT.
Sorry, I just wrote Hope Ministries on the rundown. So.
That's right.
And
Janet, Janet, Simmons.
How's turnout? How's reaction?
Good. I think we've got a good crowd coming. Yep.
Good.
And we need to probably recognize our sponsors.
Ooh. Okay, let me pull up the list to make sure.
Yep.
We don't
Let's just
miss
do
any.
the top ones.
Okay.
We just got the chamber as a sponsor.
Hey,
So,
nice.
yeah.
Very good.
That came in last night.
We're kind of going to go back to the top of like everything we talked about last time we were on. Just how did you come across Fred? What
Absolutely.
got the ball
Okay.
rolling here, how it evolved into what it's going to be
Sure.
on the 22nd.
You
order.
I was
According to
8. My bad. 8:37. Talk 107.3 FM. WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So coming up less than a week from now, March 22nd, the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon is headed this way. If you don't know what Rise LA is, hang on. We're going to get into it in exactly 60 seconds. But I do need to take those 60 seconds to tell you about the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition. Look, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the results. I lost 60 pounds last year. Technically 58. I like to round up. I lost 60 pounds last year, and I did it with Vicky and her team over at Go Slim Nutrition. It's not like any other diet. Look, you can get diet food anywhere. You can hop online and find a protein-based diet, and they'll ship you food, and you'll do your thing, and whether you succeed or not, they don't really care. They're just going to ship you the food. With Go Slim Nutrition, it's about accountability. It's about going over there each and every week, stepping on that scale and seeing your results, sitting down with Vicky and talking about what you've got on tap for the next week and how you can make the overall program work for you. GEAUXSlimBR.com is the website. 763-9600 is the phone number, or just swing on by. They're on Bluebonnet at Perkins Road. Same shopping center as Rouse's. If you see Rouse's, look to your left. You will see Go Slim. I'm there every Friday at 10. Come on by. I'll introduce you to Vicky. I'll even set you up with a free bar or two to try out the food, because it actually is pretty good. It actually is really good food. But it's not about the food. It's about the accountability at Go Slim Nutrition. All right, coming up March 22nd, the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon. I've been telling you about this for a little over a month now. Happy to be joined in studio by Cheryl Lott and Janet Simmons from Hope Ministries. Welcome back, y'all. How's it going?
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to have you all back on. Glad to be talking about this. I'm almost sad once it gets here, because it's just, the concept is cool. The concept is basically letting Fred Keller from Cascade Engineering be your Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, he took retention rates at his business from 34% to 97%, did it while lifting people up and lifting profits up as well. Let's go back to the beginning and talk about how y'all came across Fred, how y'all crossed paths, and how it evolved into what it's going to be on March 22nd.
Okay, so right after Hurricane Katrina hit, the chamber brought in a group of people that had some curriculum that we started using. And it was the same curriculum that Fred Keller was using up in Cascade, but we didn't know about that. And over time, we started studying the process of what that curriculum was going to do for our clients and also the companies that we worked with. We found out that was the curriculum that Fred Keller used with his executives in his business. And so in 2012, fast forward, I visited Grand Rapids, Michigan, and visited Cascade Engineering because I wanted to know more about their Welfare to Career program. Yes. And this was the program that helped take them from 34% retention to 97% retention. And I was very interested in that because, as you know, in Louisiana, we have a very high population of what we call ALICE, asset limited, income constrained, employed. And I wanted to help elevate that group of people that basically have been raised in generational poverty, and help them to seek and obtain sustainability for their families. And so we started implementing this model here in Baton Rouge, and in 2014 we launched the Way to Work Sustainable Workforce Solutions, and that is the program that allows companies to help increase retention. And by the way, yesterday we got some really good numbers. One company that we're working with had a 70% turnover rate last year, and in less than a year we've reduced that by 23%.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So from 70% turnover to somewhere in the 40s?
Well,
yes.
No, we reduced it by 23.
By 23, which would
right.
put it at about 47.
Right, 47-ish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy
right.
good. I mean, that's quick turnaround as well.
Right.
Especially where we are right now within our overall economy. And I think this is one of the cooler parts of it. Not anything that y'all could have predicted, but like you said, this started after Katrina. Well, we're in the midst of not just a global pandemic, but the great resignation as well.
Right.
The great resignation as well, where more and more people are looking to just bolt unless they find the company that's doing it the right way.
Right.
This helps companies do it the right way.
Absolutely.
On top of that, I think we've seen in our nation a resurgence of the welfare class, so to speak. We've seen kind of a resurgence of let's up that welfare. Let's put more people on it. There's actually a push to get more people on public assistance by many entities, and that's something that we are working very hard to help our people grow so that they can develop true careers and get off of that.
Oh, 100%. And we're coming out of a time where you had enhanced benefits, which is basically just enhanced welfare. But it was under the, I shouldn't say under the guise of, it was because of trying to keep people out of the workplace because of the pandemic. You didn't want too many people on top of each other. That's such is the nature of social distancing or whatever.
Sure.
And companies needed help along the way. They were letting people go. That just did everything. The perfect storm of unemployment happened. Right. And now working back out of it, folks are going to find that as those enhanced benefits disappear, they're going to wake up and be like, okay, I'm both out of a job and out of money. How do I get back into it while not treading water as far as living paycheck to paycheck is concerned?
And, that really runs across socioeconomic lines. It's not just people.
Oh,
in poverty.
1,000%. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We tend to think of, when you think of welfare, you would think of a lower socioeconomic end. But the people who bailed on the workforce and they're like, oh, wait, if there's no income coming in, everything else is just going out. I got to get back in the game here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, March 22nd is the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon.
Right.
For folks who have not yet signed up, or for those who have signed up, what can they expect when they get there?
So we're going to we'll have a nice lunch. It's at the Renaissance Hotel, so they've always put on a very nice spread for us as we've gone in the past. And then we're going to have Patty Phillips, who is the president CEO, the CEO of the ROI Institute. She'll be there to give us the results of the focus groups that we did in February. And then she will introduce Fred Keller. Fred Keller is the founder and CEO of Cascade Engineering, and he's the one that actually developed and implemented the Welfare to Career program within his company. And subsequently, his success was so great that the state of Michigan implemented the same strategies for their reentry, the folks that were coming out of prison and reentering into the workforce. And it's been very, very successful. So that's what we're going to learn more about, and he's going to talk about those strategies that they took and put into place.
Last time we had you on, we didn't get a chance to dive into the entire team that it takes to make something like this happen. We talk a lot about Fred, a lot about the strategies that can be learned at the Business and Industry Luncheon coming up on March 22nd. Did not get to talk about the group of people, the sponsors, the team that gets to put this thing on, and what goes on behind the scenes. So I'd be remiss if we didn't take a moment to talk about what has all had to come together to make this happen.
Absolutely. You
Sure.
want to start talking?
So we have been talking to a lot of business leaders around South Louisiana, and we have some great sponsors. ExxonMobil is one of our big sponsors. Hancock Whitney, Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health Systems. We just recently had Baton Rouge Area Chamber jump on as a sponsor. They were already very supportive, but they've actually put their money where their mouth is, and they're really excited about being part of it. Luba
Workers' Comp,
Comp is part of it. Red River Bank. Goodness, I think we have 14, 15
Open Health
different sponsors.
Open Health,
Open Health Center, All Star Automotive, quite a few others.
Bank of Zachary, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Turner Industries, KPMG, Phelps and Dunbar,
Taylor Porter, Superior Grill.
It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
Baton Rouge Chamber. Yeah.
And Baton Rouge Chamber.
Blue
Excellent.
Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana.
So
did we say that?
I like the fact that it's all over the place like this because it shows you that this isn't relegated to just one industry.
Correct.
So,
That's exactly right.
Let's walk right through it. Who should be at this luncheon that hasn't who if you haven't signed up yet, who should be at this luncheon?
Any companies who hire a high number of people, frontliners, your people that are doing the work. So, for example, hospitality would be one. Healthcare is another. Construction, any kind of manufacturing, warehousing, Amazon. Think about the employees that they hire. Nursing homes, huge area. Construction companies.
Yeah, any place where you're hiring workers who are doing the actual physical work that keeps our economy moving.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Those are the people.
Now, when Fred hits the podium, this isn't going to be as simple as, we got folks off welfare. This isn't just simply pay more. There's a secret sauce to what he's doing. So without giving away too much of what he's going to talk about, can you talk about a few of the other factors that are involved here?
So a lot of the implementation that he did within his company was the first thing he did was went and trained his managers and supervisors on understanding the workforce that they're working with, and which is really critical, because if you think you're just going to train your frontliners, but you haven't trained your managers and supervisors on how to communicate with your employees, how to respond to this particular population that has different needs maybe than another population, understanding the basic challenges that people have come into the workplace, putting all of that into place with the managers and supervisors, starting it with them, and then providing the resources for your frontliners and giving them the ability to make decisions and have something to say about their work, giving them understanding about if they're late. We know that tardiness is not a good thing. However, it might be a single mother that's having to wait for the school bus for her child, and she's not willing to let that child stand there in the street without somebody there. And so she ends up being late for a perfectly good reason.
A little bit of understanding, a little bit of autonomy. It actually can go a lot farther than just a straight-up raise. I mean,
exactly.
And one of the things that we've seen, and this brings us right back around to where we're at in the pandemic and the Great Resignation, one of the things that has triggered the Great Resignation, along with enhanced benefits and all that other stuff, has been job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is at its core. When I get out of bed in the morning, do I want to be at work?
Right.
Not about when I get my bills paid, do I have to be at work? It's when I get out of bed, do I want to be at work?
Right.
I'll give you a quick sneak peek. In our focus groups, one of the things that came up was a guy said, if we're not taking care of our employees and if our employees are miserable, it all comes down to money. How much can you pay me to go to a job that I hate and work for somebody that I hate and do work with people that I hate every day? How much can you pay me to make that happen?
Even if you give them a raise, it's going to be a finite amount of time before that money's not worth it either.
That's right.
Everybody has a ticking clock on that. Nobody has a ticking clock on jumping out of bed to get to the job that they love.
Right.
Huge difference. And that's all about relationships. And in risela.biz, I got the whole way through without giving the website. Okay. risela.biz, risela.biz. There's still time to get in. March 22nd at the Renaissance Hotel. Janet, Cheryl, thank you all so much for hopping on board today.
Thank you so much for having us.
No, glad to have you on here. Glad to be singing these praises. Glad to be blowing this trumpet because it is very much needed. Here comes your money now. All right.
Okay, I was going to say, grab that phone.
Yeah, so in the reads I've been doing every day, I've been hitting on the Great Resignation damn near 2-3 times a week because
thank you.
It plays so much into it. I've got a friend who, Racca from Racco's Po' Boys. He's had fantastic retention throughout. He says, I talked to the restaurateurs, and they're like, I can't scramble to get 3 people to keep my place open. And Rocco's like, I've had all my employees for 20 years. Yeah. I let them run the ship. Yeah. I mean, autonomy. Autonomy is huge.
Right. That's awesome. One of the things that we heard in our focus groups that was very interesting is that all these things that we have for years dealt with our lower income employee class, that we're working with, we're now, executives are now seeing it in the professional level with the younger incoming professionals. Yep. They're seeing the same kind of behaviors and quick to jump ship.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a new thing.
You go through these and it's like, did you not see any episode of Undercover Boss?
Right. It's true.
If you can't, management, I've always been a big believer that management should be able to work the front line first. If you can't do the job that you're asking someone else to do, if you can't do it yourself, then you shouldn't be able to ask.
And if you don't go down there every now and then and put your hands in it, because it changes over the years.
Yeah.
If you don't go down there every now and then and put your hands in it, then
that's the same problem that we have on national stage.
Oh, totally.
Washington making decisions about stuff that we're doing that they have no clue what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Oh! Okay, so that's going to be the focus of everything I talk about for the next week.
There you go. Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you. Oh, God, good stuff, Janet. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate y'all. The best line was during the commercial. And we have that disconnect in Washington. Do what? I think he's up. I think we're good. Thank you again for all of your help with that. You got that wood?
So the new computers are going to hang like right here.
Okay.
I'm going to mount that one and this one like this. So they're off the ground because these are going what?
The big ass boxes?
Yeah. So I'm going to suspend this from the wood, make a little shelf here so we still get airflow. It's hidden so drinks don't spill on it.
Yes. Plexiglass surroundings, the whole works. No, I'm just kidding.
Little door with a lock.
Oh, God, no. No.
You know how to keep that.
Yeah. With a number that no one can remember.
Well, no, you got to press the button simultaneously. So you fuck
Bro,
it up like 6 times
the
in a row,
gym
then it'll
door
lock
in
you out.
Mercy has that. Like, oh, God.
The one on 4 to get to the IT closet is like that. You got to get like this. And you got to hit 2 buttons twice at the same time.
Yeah, it's like 1-3 and then 2-4. So you're like 1-3-2-4. Nope. 1-3.
This one, it's like your fingers, one will push harder than the other.
Because my middle finger's longer. It goes in first.
You gotta line it up.
And hopefully we'll redo the whole studio within the next year.
Well seasoned with a fresh take on the news. Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk. Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
We're starting to see some improvement in the drive on I-12, but still dealing with lingering delays from a crash that happened way earlier this morning. Now, a manageable 22 minutes between Cuban and the split, but definitely look out for slower speeds. Again, usually the traffic has improved. Disappointing in the morning. 11 minutes on the split to LA 1, so still showing some slowdowns between Essen and
Do 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 do.
Report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $70 with the purchase of 4 eligible BF Goodrich tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
.855 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. I had stuff I wanted to talk about in this segment. There's just no way I don't at least pick up and run with what we just covered right there. I mean, what phenomenal stuff. Look, I've been telling you about the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon for, what, I guess about 2 months now? And it's coming up next week. And it's one of those things where, you know, if I'm endorsing it, I believe in it. Like when I tell you about Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, it's because I have a mattress from the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. It's because I swear by Mitch Kimball. He's a brother. He's awesome. I love him, and I know he's going to do you right. When I tell you about Complete Collision Center, I can stand by 100% the job they do because I've used them before, because I know Doug, because I know the type of ship he runs. When I tell you about Mooyah or Ghostland, you've seen the results from Ghostland. It's visible. I'm not going to talk about something I don't believe in. And this Hope Ministries, the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon, this is something that is just, it's such a good idea, such a good concept, and the results are there. One of the things, we were talking about it as Janet and Cheryl before they left during the break, we're saying it's like bosses that have been dealing with the Great Resignation. There's such a disconnect between management and frontline workers. that it's like they've never seen an episode of Undercover Boss before. Right? Like the top level of management ought to be able to work every level of job underneath that roof. For the most part. For the most part. And if you can't work the job yourself, that should increase your level of appreciation for those who do. And as I said that, Janet turned around and said, yeah, that's the problem we have in Washington. And I doubled over laughing. Because it is. That's the disconnect. That's what causes all this. And there is no amount of money that you could throw at a problem that will permanently solve the problem. It's about understanding. It's about relationships. March 22nd, Renaissance Hotel, risela.biz. I was actually going to use this time to talk about daylight saving time. Because the Senate, who I don't think agrees to what to order for lunch unanimously voted, I believe it was unanimous, to make daylight saving time permanent. Where we're at right now is where we're going to be. If the clock on your microwave is wrong, it's going to be wrong forever. Senator Marco Rubio sponsored the legislation, saying, quote, just this past weekend, we all went through that biannual ritual of changing the clock back and forth and the disruption that comes with it. One has to ask themselves after a while, why do we keep doing it? One could ask that about everything that comes in front of the Senate, but that's neither here nor there. It's not a done deal yet, y'all. It's still got to go in front of the House. 435 members hold sanity in front of their faces as we might be done with daylight saving, well, with changing our clocks forever, making daylight saving permanent. You know the issue is going to come up of, well, let's change it after we're done with it so I can get that hour back. I'm not costing my constituents an hour of their life. Oh, we got to go. Fox News Rundown's next. Okay, when that TV is off, I look like I'm floating. I look like I'm floating in space. Like, it's just all blackness behind me. I also look fatter in a white shirt. I got to stop wearing white shirts. All right, YouTube, I got to skedaddle. I will see y'all tomorrow. Patty G will be in the house. Crime Stoppers will be in the house. I've actually got a few things already lined. I'm pretty sure tomorrow's lineup's almost done. So, we'll see you then. Have a great Wednesday. Later.